Uh, uh, mm, louder, 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 louder. Maybe around here. Yeah, sound seems alright. Mm, actually, let's put it even louder. Maybe like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Ba, ba, ba. Yeah, I'm just gonna talk softly today. Well, no views right now but for those who are potentially watching the what was it called? I sound beautiful, thank you. Why are you chatting but it says zero views? Oh, three concurrent viewers. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how OBS works. Help me! Oh my god. Oh my god. Hi Dio. I actually didn't expect you here. Um oh well, guess. Am I too loud? Because like on the OBS it says that I'm reaching the red zone. Maybe a little bit lower in volume. Well, I mean to be fair, the whole way I'm probably not gonna speak too loudly anyway. But well, welcome to my first stream on this channel. I said this channel because I did a test stream on Tea Time Gaming instead. Uh, but yeah, well, feeling a bit nervous now because like, I don't know if you ever tried creating something, like drawing or maybe, in my case, writing, just like anything creative, like so like showing your work in progress, like it's like the most embarrassing moments, uh, even more than showing your end results, even with just like a draft. But that's what I'm gonna do, I guess. I figured it'll be more fun than just like watching me typing and, you know, just like all those like what do they call it? Chill and talk stream kind of things, which I don't think is actually the most interesting, especially if you're not also like a writing person as well. So I figure maybe we can try something like this, which is I'm gonna kind of express what I'm going to write, and then like maybe you can like for example decide if it's a good idea or bad idea. You can also just treat it as like watching a story in progress, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. But if you haven't watched my other video, which is like the channel update video, it's like the main purpose is really just to get me to keep writing because I've stopped writing for like 2 to 3 weeks by now. Before that, I've been keeping up myself of like writing like 1 or 2 pages every day, but then I stopped because of various reasons. And after stopping, it's really hard to get back into the habit. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna put myself out there and embarrass myself just so at least I can get myself to keep writing. I mean, if this fan fiction at the end is like kind of like the worst thing ever, then like I can always just like edit it later and everything like that. It's not like the worst. It's not so those very dramatic scenes where you see like in movies where like the guy just like writing scraps of paper and then just like throw them into the bin because they don't have a good idea. And I'm not really that kind of person. I mean, granted, I did give up on my writing at least twice by now. Um, so this is gonna be an recurring thing. I mean, hopefully I can like just like stream every day, but like obviously that's not like the most possible. But at least in terms of writing, I'm gonna stream as most as I can. Monday is gonna be definitely because it's not like I have anything else to do. Then maybe Friday and Saturday as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you're interested, just like keep an eye out on my channel. I usually just set a date and time on my streams. Um, so you would know. And then also just to advertise the upcoming Sunday, I will also start streaming Minecraft on building Nessuses. So if you're also interested in that, feel free to join us to have a look. I mean, join us on YouTube. The server isn't exactly public yet; it's like semi-public, but like for now, not planning to really just like open up to like the whole world or anything like that. But yeah, we did already build some very beautiful necesses in there. Obviously, I think it's a very nice world as well. I also got my texture pack and shaders on, so I think it'll be especially beautiful on my screen. But yes, let's get back to the writing. So, oh god, ooh, let's turn on like what we have here. Ta-da! Oh my god, yeah, yeah. You can like read it. Like this is what I'm gonna do. Like it's literally just gonna be on the screen. You can read whatever you can see, literally. And like you're just gonna see me just like editing and typing and everything like that. This is gonna be fun. But I will see how the first one goes. Um. To give a bit of context, I did finish chapter one already, at least in terms of draft. Like, obviously, I'm gonna go change it later and everything like that. But like in terms of draft, I finished chapter one, and like currently, I'm actually in the progress of chapter two. But for the sake of filling in context, what I'm gonna do first is actually gonna read out chapter one. And perfect that you're here, Mr. Tea Time Gaming Theo. You were one of the people that I've humbly asked to refill my draft, and of course, you never did. So, good thing that you're here, because I'm gonna force you to refill it with me. So, so before I begin, I guess suppose we can also like start some lo-fi music. Tell me if it's too loud. I think it is already. Uh, let's put it down, put it down, put it down. Something like that. Maybe lower than my voice. There we go. I don't know why my mouse highlights everything. There you go. So yeah, oh, it's a bit too loud for me now. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now it's too small. Maybe something like that. There we go. Why is it highlighting everything again? I have a temporary name for this fanfiction, which is called. Can I see it here? No, I cannot see it here. It's like the title is too long. But it's called The Demon King's Final Travelogue. It's a very cringy name, isn't it? It's like very generic. Like if you watch anime and like you read light novels and everything like that. Oh, yeah, it's something that you see every day. Oh, the Demon Lord and something, the Demon Lord and something, the Demon King and all the other stuff. Yeah, this sounds perfect. All right. Yes, of course you mean the music. My bad. Cause like obviously I can't really read my chat. So what I did is I have another laptop on, and then I don't know if it's delayed. And yeah, of course, like on the other laptop, it's a bit more delayed. So like when I read your comments, I won't exactly know which part you're referring to. But yeah, let me drink some water. Ah, but yeah, the Demon King's Final Travelogue. This is the temporary name for this fanfiction. It's gonna be pretty long. I'm planning around 10 chapters, but one chapter, as you can see on the right, 4 out of 21. Yes, each chapter is gonna be like 20 pages long. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be set on like every chapter having like exactly 20 pages or more, because I can tell you that is a very bad way to plan your writing. Remember that when you write, oh, I mean, hey, actually, now that I think about it, I suppose my stream can also kind of teach you how to write, because, I mean, granted, I don't really have any experiences, but I did study creative writing in university. So, at the very least, I have a degree. So, you can take my advice with a grain of salt, but I would say a lot of them will still probably be pretty helpful. But yes, when you write, do not set do not set a definite length for yourself. Like, don't tell yourself I'm gonna write like this story is gonna be 4 pages because that's not going to work. Like what if you realize that your story actually has that little content that you cannot write that much? That is always possible. Or on the other hand, you have too much that you want to write, and you realize that 4 pages aren't enough. Like it's fine if you like in your head you have like a rough length of like how long it's going to be. Like I guess this is going to be 20 pages. Like something like that. That's fine. That's fine. But do not set it as your goal. Like I have to write 20 pages. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way, and it will not help with your progress as well because like then your brain is tuned to force yourself to write something extra. And you know what those something extra is called? Filler. Have you heard about it? Filler episodes, filler stories. Those are things that you do not want in your stories most of the time. So yeah. So just remember. So I think the best way to do it is that you think about your plot points. You got a few plots. You got a few important events in your story. You try to aim to write up to that event, and that's good enough. Like you can like finish the track before you start decorating it. So like finish the whole thing first before you start adding the little details. When you start slowly doing that, you realize you will start adding pages to it, and then your story wouldn't be a short one anymore. So don't worry too much about it. That's my first advice. Hi Venti, good to see you here. So I guess I can try reading out chapter 1 first, and then just so you guys know where I'm at right now, and then I can proceed to chapter 2 and see how we go with that. So chapter 1, the noble daughter. It was another day of gathering at the Camelot mansion. Citizens from around the Phantasm Archkingdom. Do you know where the Phantasm Archkingdom is? Yeah, it's in the Purple World, where the Nightling lives. You guys remember the Nightlings? Time to get this on. BSSDB, of course. Can't forget about that if you're writing a fanfiction on Battle Spirits. All these things. The Nightlings, this is where they live, the Phantasm Archkingdom. As well as politicians traveling from far, all dressed up in tuxedos and glittering bow ties, each holding a delicate glass of the kingdom's most famous and most refined Medoc wine. You see there, Medoc wine? They took their time to savor the hinted sweetness from the overwhelming natural bitterness of grapes, washing down the throats their impatience, eager to witness the beginning of a revolutionary speech, or at least that was what they thought to be revolutionary. But at the end, it would just be empty words targeting the current government of the Archkingdom. Yeah, Nocturna is seriously a really good card. Like, I love this art so much. The Proto art's really good as well. I just love how she looks so sad. And what's the better word? Melancholic. There we go. I love how she looks so melancholic all the time. But yeah, back to the story. As the noble daughter of Paladin Camelot, as the noble daughter of Paladion Camelot, I, Lissa, was obligated to attend this gathering. Just to let you guys know. So like obviously this is a fanfiction, so all the characters have some references in there. Paladion is this guy. But yeah, but like I reimagined the Saga world a little bit. Most characters in this story are gonna be in human form. As in like they're gonna look like human. Like Paladion doesn't look like this. I believe I do have a little description of Paladion later, so we will see there. Right, let's go back. As the noble daughter of Paladion Camelot, I, Rissa, was obligated to attend this gathering, just to show support to my father. However, to be frank, I had no interest in politics at all. I deemed it almost impossible to change how a country would work, and certainly there would not be such a possibility when all my father did was spread his own words with no further actions. He was a politician himself, but as a member of the Shadow Tribe, he had very little say on the country's matters. I thought it would just been easier if we moved away and lived somewhere else, but he always insisted on remaining in the Phantasm Archkingdom. So so I was going to say something. I can't remember. Right, yes. So yeah, Shadow Tribe, the Shadow family. I think that was obvious enough. And then actually one of my friends did actually read my chapter, and then she told me that Risa here seems a little bit too edgy, you know. You know what they always call like the emo girls kind of thing. She felt that I have written Risa to be like kind of like the emo teenager, which like now that I think about it, maybe. But like again, I don't really want to change too much right now. Like I just want to finish the draft first, and then like, I can go back and see if like I actually kind of exaggerated her kind of edgy personality a bit too much. But granted, in this setting, Rissa is a teenager, though I didn't really mention it very clearly. Rissa is a teenager, like maybe like 16 or 17 years old. So I suppose it's quite normal for her to act a little bit edgy. Footsteps were still increasing in the main hall. It would be a while before the talk would begin. Feeling bored, I approached the drinking section to get myself a glass of champagne. I found a nearby wall to lean against. Holding the stem of the fluted glass, I watched the bubbles generating from the bottom of the bowl. Champagne should be drunk quickly, but I did not care about the taste. Alcohol certainly was not my favorite. I was mainly holding it just so I did not embarrass my father. My parents had always taught me that even if I did not like drinking, in public events I should still drink a little, because that was what everyone else would do. I took a sip from the glass. It was sweet, at least enough to cover up the bitterness from the taste of alcohol, which was really the part that I disliked the most. Besides the dizziness I would get from getting drunk, well, it does a bit of full stop there, so my tone is a little bit wrong there. I had a firm belief that I had tolerance, but I certainly would not like to put that to test. While I was just staring ahead with a blank mind, stirring the glass in my hand lightly, so secretly and so unconventional, someone voiced out, "I don't think you should be shaking the glass, it ruins the texture." I looked to the left. There was a teenage boy looking roughly the same age as me, but certainly taller than me, wearing a burgundy colored suit with a golden tie. His long ivory hair was tied into a ponytail, long enough to reach the back of his waist, gently swaying side to side beside him. He was also holding a champagne glass with his right hand, his steps so steady that one could barely see the waves on the surface of the glass. "I do not mind it myself, it's not a drink I prefer anyway," I replied, taking another sip right in front of him. "That's a fair reason. Mine will stand beside you." He asked that. It was not an option, as he already positioned himself side by side with me, albeit he did keep some distance between the two of us. There was a momentary silence between the two of us. I was completely fine with it. Rather, that was what I preferred, especially since just being in a social meeting physically was mentally exhausting. However, at that moment, I felt that I had to speak up. There was an aura around him that led me to wanting to understand him. I turned my head slightly, just enough to be able to glance at his posture while still looking like I was facing forward. If he was actually the same age as me, then it was already unusual for him to appear in this kind of event. Not to mention, his suit did stand out for having perfectly aligned sewing lines, a sign of a master designer's creation. It was the kind of quality which even nobles would have a hard time to acquire. Even my light blue dress came from a tailor of the common class. Wait, give me a second. Just gotta pause for a bit. Uh, uh, right, give me a second. Just something came up for a little bit. Don't worry. Okay, yeah, we can continue. Uh, is everything all good so far? Is it interesting enough? At least in terms of the story. Am I reading it? And I'm reading things right. I do have a bit of confidence in terms of reading, even though my throat is a little bit dry today. I did like reading poetry competitions, like kind of reciting competitions when I was small, and then I was in the choir as well, so I have a bit of confidence in terms of reading words. However, the features which caught my attention the most or definitely his ivory hair. His pointy ears, as well as the skin tone of a slightly shaded color. I had never seen anyone with that appearance. Thanks, Theo. Judging from the skin color, I had determined that his ancestor might have been from an area of high temperature, maybe even humid as well. And my first thought was the realm of flame, the hottest realm among the 4 realms in this world. Yeah, so 4 realms, and that's because I haven't included the green world and the blue world yet. So there's only 4 of them. Basically, it's like the set 1 and set 2 setting. Either way, it was not only me who noticed his unique appearance, he was receiving gazes from the other guests in the room as well, though none of them would dare to approach him. He stood out like a black cat on the street, plus they were probably thinking he was already occupied with me. So, what piqued your interest? I asked. Why do you ask? He looked in my direction with a soft gaze. It was clear that he was responding to me, but his eyes were not focused on me. His voice was gentle too, and he was definitely smiling. But there was just something off about his gesture, like he was not even trying to be entertained there. I just think it is simply not something a person your age would be interested in. All these talk are not only about politics, but almost like a revolution stirring up, if I do have to describe it myself. If you are not a citizen dissatisfied with this kingdom, I can hardly think of a reason to be here. He let out a dry laugh. That's actually funny coming from you. Aren't you afraid that I'm just gonna use that as evidence for treason against your family? It is more or less an open secret. My father has too many complaints with the kingdom. Even if I am not personally involved in his movements, I'm still aware of the many sceptics against him. He has put himself in a vulnerable position in the kingdom. As I was speaking, my fingers has been subconsciously squeezing the stem of the glass, and my vision sank to the floor. I was not exactly mad at my father, but I did believe he ought to treat himself better. He had no idea how much he was worrying me and my mother. He could have just moved out of the kingdom with the wealth he has, but I believe he chose not to do so because he truly cares about the kingdom. The person had colored my thoughts. My gaze returned to him. He was still staring at the stage where my father had already begun his talk. I was not even aware of his voice on the microphone until I took notice of our surrounding noises again. The person beside me was still handing a faint smile. It might have been my imagination, but it seemed that his smile was slowly fading away as well. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to say, but like, obviously, like this, I think, like at least in terms of like how I expect my stream to work, is that like I'm always trying to take in like comments from you guys, the viewers, and, like maybe like in what parts maybe you think should change, what part can be improved, or maybe you're expecting some kinds of developments, or maybe you hope that I want to go to that kind of development. Just comment down and everything like that. This is what I'm expecting, and I think it can be quite a bit of fun if it feels like that we're all trying to write the same story together. So yeah, so like if you have any questions, anything about like my story, just like feel free to ask. It's no problem. If you think there's something I could do better, just comment as well. I'm already streaming myself out here trying to write. I believe I am quite ready to accept some criticisms. Especially since, I've never actually published anything. So I know I'm not exactly a skilled writer. So I understand if people may think there are some parts that are really bad and everything like that. Let's continue. Then his eyes squinted for a little bit. He turned to me and said, "Sorry, milady, but I have to excuse myself here." Again, without waiting for my response, he swiftly made his way into the crowd in quick steps, the end of his suit wavering in the air. I believe that I would fail even if I tried to catch up to him from the beginning. And so I was left alone again. He had piqued my interest. Our conversation had only begun, and I thought it could have lasted for the whole evening. Well, of course, when you were in a gathering, you would want to walk around and chat with as many people as possible. It was all about building up connections after all. Personally, I had no desire to do so. I'm not interested in becoming the next lady of the family, but I knew that the position would fall into me sooner or later, since I was the only child in the family. My father had already built up enough connections for me, since he always pushed me to join his gatherings and meetings. I had known enough people for contact, even I felt that some partners and patrons were a bit suspicious. I yawned, looking around to make sure that no one saw me doing that. I was only required to stay around until my father's speech was over, but his speech alone would sometimes take about an hour. I took the last sip of champagne from my glass. Staring at the empty glass, I thought to myself that maybe I should take another one. It definitely would have tasted better if there was someone to talk to. And I just remembered that I did not ask for his name. Uh, right. I'm gonna add something to the chat for now. Uh, and then I would like to pin that, but YouTube is trying to be really difficult with me. I guess I'll do that later. After the shower, as per usual, I walk along the empty corridor towards my father's study to bid him good night. Compared to the other nobles in the kingdom, our family had relatively less power and less wealth as well. But even then, the corridors always felt like a hassle to walk through. I've seen the portraits on the wall thousands of times, maybe even millions. They were all portraits of the family ancestry, all people of the Shadow tribe. As I reached the double doors made of dark oak, I knocked on them with firm hits, expecting my father to be on the other side. As usual, he simply responded, "Come in." And so I turned the knob and gently pushed the door, still having his teachings resounding in my mind. In this case, I remember how he told me to open the door softly because that was how girls should act. And in general, that would be a better manner because it would show that I was careful. I closed the door behind me. Father was not sitting by his desk. Instead, he was resting with my mother side by side on the sofa in front of the desk, with 2 cups of tea on a little table before their legs. Both of them noticed me. Mother smiled at me. "Father and mother, I have come to say good night," I said. Father nodded while he looked me into the eyes. "Good night to you too, Lisa. What do you think of the gathering today?" Uh, I... Father's beard and mustache had covered his mouth, and his steady eyes and thick eyebrows make him look like a tiger laying his eyes on his prey. But I knew that he was simply excited to know my opinion. His intense stare was not of irritation but of enthusiasm. I cleared my throat. Regarding voicing our demands, I certainly think that boycotting the national festival next month would deliver an obvious message to the kingdom of our dissatisfaction. As you mentioned in your speech, the Shadow Tribe takes almost 30% of the population in the kingdom. So if we could get most of the tribe to cooperate, there would be a significant reduction of people celebrating the festival, causing the festival to not look as exciting as expected, especially when the missing people are also citizens. Mother gestured for me to sit down, so I gave a small nod and sat down on the sofa opposite them, with my back straight, making sure I was not slouching. "Make sure to sit straight, guys." Ugh. My parents had taught me how to be proper, so I did my best in front of them, even if I actually really wanted to sleep. I continued. However, the success can only come with the assumption that most of the Shadow Tribe is willing to cooperate. We know that there are some Shadows who are actually fond of the current rules in the kingdom, and some are just not bothered enough to participate in our movement. So I estimate there will only be a maximum 2/3 of the tribe willing to cooperate, and that's not a lot of people when we compare with the scale of the festival. Not to mention, there will still be visitors coming from the other 3 realms. We know how much the residents of the Realm of Radiance love festivals. With their realm being literally next to us, it is too easy for them to travel over. They will certainly fill up the venues during the festival. Our absence will make little difference. So, if you haven't remembered already, let me just show you the map of the Saga world. Yep. So, well, it's behind the words, but you can roughly look. It kind of looks like this. So, on like the top right, we have the purple world, which is where the phantasm arch kingdoms is. So right below them, is the realm of radiance, which is the yellow world. So that's what Rissa means by the yellow world being right, literally right next to them. And so it's very easy for the yellow citizens to come over to the purple world. Yellow citizen sounds so wrong. I'm glad I'm an Asian myself. Yeah, father took a sip of tea from his cup. What would you suggest then? I think we can attempt to disturb the procedure of the festival instead. For example, we can arrange groups of people to take the transport forward and backwards in turns, so as to fill up as much space on the vehicles as possible. This will greatly slow down the traffic, possibly annoying the kingdom's visitors. We can also have only workers boycotting the festival as well, since they are crucial for things in the festival to function, especially since a lot of the workers are in the Shadow Tribe. Them missing will slow down the events for a significant amount, as well as adding a great amount of pressure to the other staff members. Creating dissatisfaction among the third parties is what we need, so that they will also pressure the kingdom to do something about us. I'm not very good at politics, and like kinda I do feel like this particular paragraph or like this whole interaction between Rissa and her father felt kind of like a filler, but like my point here was kind of just to uh, show that like even though Rissa doesn't really care about what her father is doing, she kind of also understands what's going on. She's also quite intelligent. I mean, I'm not sure if that's sufficient enough to kind of express her knowledge. But like interestingly, I did kind of learn this part in my history class back in high school, when we learned about the black movements, the black civil movements in America back in like 1960s around that time. And yeah, I just like remember some of the boycott movements they have there, and I was like, yeah, I think I can try applying it here. Obviously, I changed things up a little bit. It's not like exactly the same plans, but like, it's roughly the same idea. You know. Father closed his eyes as he probably fell into deep thoughts. My expression remained unchanged. It was not a serious topic, at least it was not to me. I felt the atmosphere was preventing me from even trying to smile at that moment. Though it seemed that mother was thinking otherwise, as she was simply casually drinking her tea the whole way through. She was probably glad that we were engaging in a conversation as a family and not arguing, which I knew happened in a lot of the other families for power and status reasons. Blah. Time to drink some more water. You make some good points. Thank you for your inputs. Believe you still have classes early tomorrow, right? It's going to bed now, Father spoke. I stood up. Well then, good night to both of you again. Father simply nodded, while Mother gently waved at me. She was not muted, but she was never a chatter either. The true definition of actions speak louder than words. I knew that she was silent with Father as well. Probably before I walked in, the two of them were simply sitting together in silence. I think it's better to use together here, because I've been using the phrase side by side at least like 3 to 4 times just in these first 4 pages already. So yeah, that's another thing. If you notice there are some words that you're repeating, I think it would be a good idea to try to maybe like just like switch the words around a little bit, just to make it sound a bit more different. But I would say that only applies to fiction. If you're like writing a thesis or anything like that, it's actually the other way around. It's actually better if you keep repeating the same terms, because it helps your reader, your audience, to remember and to understand what you're referring to in your thesis. So yeah, thesis and fictions, different stuff. But in fictions, it might be a good idea if you just try using a bit more different words. At least that's what I think. The two of them were simply sitting together in silence, or Father was doing all the talking to liven up the mood. I closed the door behind me and let out a huge sigh in the empty hallway. I never really understood why my father would ask for my opinions on his political views and decisions. I figured that it was probably just to make me think and also push me to be aware of the recent news. But I was fairly certain that was about it. None of my suggestions or words were referenced in his next speech and movement, which meant that my views were not even slightly aligned with his. Sometimes I felt grateful that my father only treated our interactions as casual conversations. I could not imagine his responses if it had been stricter. It was not midnight yet, so there were still servants around, but it was part of the house rules that no servants were positioned in this hallway after 9 p.m., unless one of us in the family called. My father believed that there should still be alone time between the three of us every day, even if it was only roughly 2 hours before bed. I appreciate the rule, but strolling along the hallway to my bedroom now, I was glad that no one had seen my expression. Smiling and greeting others for the whole day was exhausting, especially when I had to do that to the servants as well. My father was a very humble man, so he believed that our attitudes towards one another should be equal, even if their social status was below ours. I agree with my father, obviously, but still, I wish that I did not have to pull out a facade towards people who work under the household every day. After I entered my room, cold breeze immediately blew past me. The glass doors towards the balcony were slit open, as usual. The servants always left them open after cleaning up to keep the fresh air in. From my spot, I could see the moon hanging up high in the sky, quietly watching over the citizens of the land. The field was murky with the clouds floating above, which always had been the scene in the Realm of Gloom, where the phantasm Archkingdom was situated. I frowned. As the name suggested, the area looked gloomy the whole time. Frankly, I was surprised how people could still enjoy their lives under such a grey field. I mean, I literally wrote this sentence with like feeling very relatable because I live in the UK and it practically rains every day. You know, especially during the winter, I wake up to a grey sky, and then when I was like, yeah, when I was writing this part, when I was thinking about the Reign of Gloom, literally my first thought was, this is the United Kingdom. After my first visit to the Reign of Radiance, my perspective was forever changed. I wanted to wake up with the piercing sunlight beaming onto my face through the window every day, not being woken up by servants holding only candles and dim lights lit in the room. What do you mean lightweight? I shut the doors to the balcony and pulled up the curtains. The only light in the room was a weak lamp just beside my pillow. I sat by the bed and straightened up my long hair with a comb before carefully tucking myself in. I did not do much during the day, but just being in the gathering had already exhausted me so much. Then, while lying in bed, I remembered that I would still have to face my tutor the next day, and immediately my head felt heavier. I fell into darkness. And then so like you can see like there's like a horizontal line here. It's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you've been reading books, you would know. But like, just to inform you, this is like when like usually when like a time skip happens. It can be a very long time. But in my case, it's like, just like skipping very short moments. And then it can also be like for like a change of scenes. Well, personally, I'm not very good at like changing scenes just yet. So like usually my method is using the horizontal line to kind of skip over some moments that are unrelated to the story overall. While I was elegantly sipping on my Earl Grey, using a turquoise teacup with swirling patterns and golden edges, a maid had walked over with a small plate, holding a piece of strawberry cheesecake firmly cut from its big cylindric form. I already picked up my fork when she put it in front of me, and just when the tip was about to touch the cake, glass windows shattered behind me with a huge gust of wind lifting up my hair. My cake flew across the room and splattered onto the wall, along with all the servants in the room, their blood painting the room red. The fork in my hand clattered onto the floor. I was stunned in my chair, but shortly came back to my senses as someone stumbled across the hallway and slammed open the doors. It was Nemi, the butler who had been taking care of me since my birth. He was literally heaving, a rare sight from a sturdy man like him. And when he noticed I was still stuck in my spot, he floundered onto me with one leg bleeding in a trail of blood. His hands grabbing onto my shoulders, my eyelids jumped. He looked absolutely horrified. Yo, miss, you need to get up now. Get up now. Run! He kept shaking me violently, so hard that even the scene around us began to melt down. The bright colors faded to a dim glow, and within a moment I shifted from sitting to lying down on a soft surface. However, Nemi's face remained in front of me, his sweat dropped onto my cheeks. Nemi! I jumped out from my bed. Young miss, finally! It's an emergency! Please get over here now! The door was busted behind him, and soldiers in full purple armor charged in with long axes in their hands. So actually, this is another reference. Soldiers in full purple armor. Like I try to be a bit fake here because so for this fan fiction, I didn't say it at the start at the beginning, but like it's actually designed so that players, not players, I mean people who don't play Battle Spirits can like also understand what's going on. So I'm like when I write my fan fiction, I tend to try not to put too many references in there so that the other people wouldn't really understand what's going on. So when I say the soldiers in purple armor, let me try to find it. I can't even remember what family he's in. Um, yeah, this guy, whispered armor. Yeah, I was imagining that like most of the soldiers, like the infantries, would be like this kind of like look, you know. What's going on? I gasped. Most likely an ambush. And this amount of people, are they sent by the Archkingdom government themselves? While Nemi muttered, a soldier swung their axe at him, while Nemi dodged from the side and launched a kick into the stomach. Anyway, young miss, please escape. I'll take you from here. He bent down while another axe swung over him, then jumped onto the soldier who had attacked him, pushing his left forearm against their neck onto the wall. However, his intimidation did not last long, as he shortly realized they were simply overwhelmed by numbers. He had no choice. Nemi pulled out his right hand, and a wave-bladed sword materialized in his palm. Well, I mean, it's a very small reference, but maybe you guys can guess which spirit this is. Like, I mean, Nemi is obviously based on a spirit, but maybe you can try guessing who it actually is. With one slash, he sliced off the soldier's head, cutting through even the metal armor. He then turned around with a roar and began swinging his sword around frantically. He managed to knock out a few more soldiers, but there were simply too many of them. I also materialized my own weapon, a lance, in my right hand. I just realized probably should add a bit more description here. Because when I was writing it in my head, the weapon just kind of appears in the hand, kind of like magic, like how people summon their weapons out. That was what I imagined, but I suppose if I only write and materialize my own weapon, it's it might have been too fake for readers to understand. So yeah, I might have to change that part later. I'm just gonna highlight it for now. I also materialized my own weapon, a lance in my right hand, just in time when one soldier swung their axe down at me. I blocked and deflected the force back at them. I was terrified, but there was no time to hide in a corner screaming. It was something I had anticipated for a long time. Knowing that my father loved tackling the sensitive issues from the government, still, I could not help but worry about everyone in the household. The servants did not sign up for this. I could only hope that they would be spared, but chances were slim. I then materialized a shield on my left hand, pushing myself forward and breaking out from the three soldiers surrounding me. I then noticed one of them was trying to ambush Nemi from behind, and I knocked him out while charging at them with my shield. What are you doing, young miss? You need to leave now, Nemi said. I'm not leaving you alone, I exclaimed while an axe swung down beside me. I could feel the tip of my hair being cut off as my head barely turned away. But then I heard a rough scream from behind. Nemi was kneeling on the ground. His frail arms were dragging down with blood gushing out, and his right leg was disfigured. In front of him was a soldier standing tall and mighty with their axe holding high to the ceiling. There was no time to react. Those few seconds were absolute torture, as I had to watch the axe falling onto Nemi's head. I was not mentally prepared for the outcome, and I was not willing to accept it either. My whole body turned to him with all my force. I could feel my torso muscles being stretched to their best. My hands reached out for a soldier about to push him away. But then, the glass doors of the balcony shattered into pieces. It was not just a gust of wind, but something even stronger. Someone, with an immense amount of magical energy, landed onto the floor with one knee kneeling. Their presence alone was enough to put the soldiers onto their knees, including the one right in front of Nemi. In fact, they got knocked out by the same force which shattered the glasses. I also could barely stand on my ground. The intruder crossed his arms in front of his face, with his palms facing outwards, bending his fingers like claws, chanting, "Magic! Exhaustnesses!" Oh my god, I feel so cringe reading this part. God damn it. Superhero landing! Yay! More wind blasted out in spirals from his palms. The streams of wind bent in the air, going through every soldier in the room, throwing them up into the air and subsequently knocking them out of consciousness. However, Nemi and I were safe between its attacks. That was a close one. He stood up and looked down at us. I could barely see his face since the moonlight was glowing behind him. However, the silhouette of his sharp ears and his ponytail waving in the air gave me the clues. Not to mention, his voice sounded exactly the same as when we met at the gathering. "You," Nemi muttered. The intruder stood up and turned slightly to his right side, facing his pauldron at us. So I've been also using like quite some technical terms, like when I'm writing, so like usually because I want to be more specific, instead of like, oh, he's using a sword, but then like, I would become like more specific, like, oh, he's actually using like a katana. So in this case, when I say a pauldron, it's actually a part of an armor, which is like your shoulder. So like yeah, so like this, like the pauldron is like the shoulder armor. There was a black spades, the kind from playing cards, imprinted on his pauldron, with a yellow crystal shaped as a rhombohedron, shining in the middle of the spades. I could recognize it, and so could Nemi. Noticing that our alert was down, he walked to us and genuflected beside Nemi. He put his hands close to Nemi's broken legs as he chanted, "Magic, life-saving, main effect." Nemi's legs glow in white light, slowly bending back to how they were supposed to look. It was grotesque to stare at, but it was also almost a spectacle. Life-saving was a diamond spell, originating from the Realm of Frost, so as a longtime citizen of the Realm of Gloom, where amethyst spells were more popular, it was not an everyday thing to see spells of another attribute. I really think maybe I should change my ways of writing the spells out, because when I actually read out the names of the magics, I was like, oh my god, this is actually so cringe. I guess this is why this will continue to be it will stay to be a fan fiction. Oh my god. "Your legs aren't fully healed yet, but try not to move too much," the intruder said. Thank you. And you are?" Nemi responded. "I'm Ali Tensor. I'm the personal guard of Princess Alice, on a secret mission to save you guys. Before he could continue, we could all feel the floor shaking, as well as the sound of footsteps getting louder and louder. "Sounds like reinforcements," Nemi said. "I'm sorry, Mr. Tensor. Please take the young miss to a safe place. I shall hold them off here." Tensor stood up. "Leave them to me. I can easily drive them off." "Don't!" Nemi also stood up, albeit in a weaker stance due to his legs still recovering. "We cannot let the Arch Kingdom know you're involved. It will be a huge hint to them that the Land of Cards is also pulling strings, and this can easily lead to war between the two countries." He looked around to the soldiers from the first wave, still fainted on the floor. "Your entrance was so sudden. I do not think they have figured out your identity, so do not worry about them. Please, leave now." Tensor nodded. No, I actually haven't focused on the mom that much. Just a bit on the dad. uh, yeah. For those who are only listening, basically, Fenty from the comment section has asked, "Do we know anything about the mother?" There's a lot of focus on the father so far. Which the answer is no. To be honest, I don't know if I would actually put too much emphasis on the mother even later on. But at least for sure, the father is would be quite an important figure throughout the story. Tensor nodded. If you say so, I wish you good luck. And then in one quick movement, he scooped me up from behind, holding me with one of his arms on my back and the other under my knees, an arms carry. I almost screamed. That was so smooth and sudden that it caught me completely off guard. I was trained to make quick reactions, but except for the moments he landed into the room, he was barely emitting a presence. In terms of magical energy, it was as if he simply had no magical energy at all. But of course that would not be true, as I literally just witnessed him casting spells twice. That also made me realize another thing. Exhaust Nessus was a Topaz spell, originating from the Red Radiance. So this person could use both Diamond and Topaz spells? Tensor held me close to his chest armor and turned to the balcony. His movements actually before we continue. So I suppose for those who don't play the games, like it's kind of like a hidden setting that would be explained later on. I can't remember if I'm gonna be explaining it already, but like it will be explained later on. That's like most of the citizens could only use one type of spells. So it kind of followed the rules in the card game. You know, if you're using a white deck, most of the time you can only use white magic because you know you only got the white reduction. So you know, so it's kind of the same concept here. So in this case, Rissa noticing that Tensor can use both white and yellow magic at the same time, you know, kind of like indicates that he can manipulate two colors at the same time. Which like in my world setting, it is a extremely rare thing to happen. uh, so yeah, Tensor held me close to his chest armor and turned to the balcony. His movements pulled me back to reality from my thoughts. I struggled in his arms, looking over his shoulder at Nemi, who was facing the entrance of the bedroom, ready to fight against the next wave of soldiers. Um, Actually, let me also put in here because I don't know if I've done that already. If I just label it down, explain the mechanic, then I would know. I will remember that I need to do that later. Um, but yeah. So like this is like kind of one reason why, you know, after you write, you just have to keep reading over and over again. Because like especially, you know, for example, now that I'm reading it out, I notice, well, there are a lot of things that like make sense in my head, but you know it might not have make sense to readers, and like that means I need to add more things in there. So yeah, it's a very long process to actually write a decent story out. And let me drink some water. Yeah, Hansel held me close to his chest armor and turned to the balcony. His movements pulled me back to reality from my thoughts. I struggled in his arms, looking over his shoulder at Nemi, who was facing the entrance of the bedroom, ready to fight against the next wave of soldiers. Let me go! I need to help him! I began screaming, but that just resulted in Tensor holding me even tighter, probably fearing that my quiver would shake myself off from his arms. He was also whispering aggressively to my ears, "Be quiet! You don't want the enemy to hear us." But Nemi! At that point, Tensor had already stepped outside, putting his foot on the edge as he was ready to launch the both of us far away from the mansion. My last sight of the butler, who stayed with me for my whole life, was him stabbing himself as a condition to release his ultimate ability. Tensor landed onto the ground right outside my room, which was on the first floor. From below, I could see a strong purple light emitting from my room, along with a small explosion. Nemi's sword flew out from the window and stabbed into the soil right beside my head. Tensor casted a brief look at the sword before sprinting into the forest surrounding the mansion. The mansion became further and further away in my sight, its appearance blocked by the thick trees and bushes we passed by. Nemi! Father! Mother! I suddenly shouted. I'm not very good at what's the word? Emitting like not emitting, like kind of mimicking shouts in dialogues. I'm just not very good at shouting. Actually, I still remember like I've been speaking so softly for most of my life that during high school when I tried shouting in front of a crowd because like I was trying to lead kind of like a student choir. I couldn't do that. I literally couldn't shout, and instead I was squeaking my voice like a very funny puppy toy. And then the end result was just like people laughing at me. Well, that was fun. Wow. I turned to Tenso's stern expression, my hands on his chest plate. You can do something, right? You can use spells from two different attributes. Surely there are more you can do. Please, help them. Help me. Be quiet, he whispered to me, a command. You should be able to sense it too. We got pursuers. Upon hearing that, I was a little bit stunned. But still, I closed my eyes and felt my surroundings. At first, my sight was all pitch black. But as a descendant of the Shadow Tribe, I had a genetic ability allowing me to read my surroundings by being under the shadows, by tracking down the shape of the shadows up to a radius of 100 meters, subsequently creating a mental imagery including the constant changes of shapes of the shadows. With this, even when closing my eyes, I could pinpoint the number of trees and the thickness of bushes around us, and of course, the number of people chasing after us. Two of them, at high speed as well. I opened my eyes again, watching how we were rushing past the trees even quicker than a horse carriage, dodging obstacles left and right. Tensor even made sure that none of my body parts were touching anything as he held me close to himself. Can you figure out if they're from the Shadow Tribe or not? He asked. No, I can only figure out the approximate objects through the sizes and shapes of the shadows. Our ability does not allow us to identify each other. Guess we just have to figure it out here then. Tensor abruptly paused his steps. He made a sharp turn and his feet were sliding along the soil. Hold me around my neck, he shouted. I did as he ordered, and then the second right after, something jumped out from the shadow. I think I used the word shadow too much. Might be better to just say darkness here. The claws reflected the moonlight. Tensor immediately put out his right hand, chanting, "Magic, Miss Barrage." A wall of mist. Actually, now that I think about it, in the dialogues, I might like skip the word magic, and then instead just put in just put in the magic name instead. I think that would make things slightly better. A wall of mist was released from his hand, and claws clashed right into it. At that moment, we could also see clearly that our opponent was in thick black armor, with a tuft of fur on his chest. It was bearing sharp teeth, with a canine nose and big white ears hanging above his head. Its eyes were menacingly glowing in red. It growled at his failure of ambush, jumping back in the shadow, nowhere to be seen. That was a werewolf? I muttered. A rare subspecies of the Nightlings. I was surprised they managed to recruit one under the army. Usually their powers are uncontrollable. Just after Tensor said that, he turned around and pulled out the same magic, blocking another attack. This time the attacker was bare on the upper body, muscular and extremely hairy, with a big purple crystal on his chest. His messy long hair was covering his face, but I could still see his long fangs and his big ears. Again, a lot of the characters are references to spirits. I'm not gonna like point out which character is which spirit every time, but that's something I can leave you to do. Like if you're interested, like try to find the spirit under my description. It might be able to prove that my description is doing well enough. If you manage to find it just with what I said, that can be some help. His messy long hair was covering his face, but I could still see his long fangs and his big ears. The other attacker, I said. A werewolf jewel, huh? Tensor disabled his mist barrage and sent the werewolf into the air with a kick to the chest. Then he jumped off, and before I could catch up, the original spot was now a crater, as the first werewolf punched a hole into it. We were stuck. The armored werewolf was in front of us, and by looking over Tensor's shoulder, I could see the half-naked werewolf already standing up from the ground. There's not much I can do here, especially when I'm holding you like this, Tensor complained as he shoved his free hand under his greave. So greave It's another part of armor. I've actually done quite a bit of research in like what's it called? Kind of medieval armament. So grief is like this part. Well, actually, well, it doesn't have to be that part, but yeah, it is that part, yeah. Kind of like on like the lower leg, yeah, lower thighs. I think that's how you call it. But then put me down. In the first place, I'm not even hurt. That won't do. My mission is to rescue you after all. Plus, I estimate that both of them have higher power than you. If they reach you, you'll most likely be dead without even getting to fight back. I had mixed feelings about what he said. Then the two werewolves launched themselves at us together. Let's do this one by one then. Green bomb! Pencil stomped one foot onto the ground. White gas blasted off from the ground into the sky, once again blowing the half-naked werewolf away. Then he spun around, raising his other leg as he deflected the arm from the armored werewolf, followed by volcanic break. He pulled out his right hand and threw out a glowing red germ. A magic circle rapidly formed between us and the werewolf, and then the red gem shattered. Subsequently, a huge piece of sharp rock materialized in midair, fired right into the werewolf's face, shattering his armor into pieces, and it was blasted off into the distance. I could literally see a tree falling down far away. One down, he said, turning to the direction where he sensed the half-naked werewolf flying. It was already coming back, charging at us while muttering something. Then a purple aura formed around it, and I could faintly see his body getting slightly bigger as his muscles were slightly more stretched, and his stomping crossed the ground deeper and deeper with every step. Enhancement magic, huh? Guess I'll do the same. Protection error. No, not error. Protection aura. There we go. Tensel's body glowing right. A thin layer of condensed magic covering him. He put his right leg behind, and when the werewolf showed his claws inches away from us, Tensel also kicked up his foot, deflecting the attack. He then made a spin and launched his other legs at his face. I could even hear bones cracking. The werewolf jumped back. We watched as his face recovered. He shook his head, then pranced at us again. But Tensel performed an uppercut with his leg, literally deforming his jaw, and sent it into the air. Tensor also caught up from under, leaping up high, still with me in his arms. He already sent the werewolf about the trees, but he managed to obtain an even higher level. Both of us were able to stare down at the falling werewolf. Okay, now we are getting into some really cringy parts. I think you will recognize this if you watch Kamen Rider. Tensor dropped a sudden warning. Brace for impact. What? Crimson Smash! He stretched out his right leg with red aura beginning to form around it, shaping like a cone, the tip pointing at the werewolf. In a blink, we zoomed in close to the ground, the tip of the red aura piercing into the purple gem glowing on the werewolf's chest, digging deeper and deeper while his leg continued applying pressure. As we landed onto the ground, the impact let out an explosive sound. Dust and dust scattered all over us. I choked, almost struggling to breathe. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Are you alright, milady? The dust dropped, so I could finally see it clearly. Tensong was staring at me with concerned eyes, yet he was smirking. What are you so happy about? I asked. He immediately retracted the smile. Ah, do excuse me. It's been a while since the last time I used my favorite spell, so I got excited for a moment. His gaze has gone past me. I followed his gaze and saw that the lower part of his body was clearly soaked with his blood. As for the werewolf, it was gone. There was only blood splattered everywhere within the crater Tensor had created. He casually mentioned, I might have reduced 2 of his light points as well. That is very true. I'll keep that in mind. I will. You are correct. You are correct. Yeah, sorry. I keep responding to comments without like reading them out first. I need to get used to streaming. So basically, again, Fenty in the comments say that maybe the Crimson Smash battle cry could have been done halfway through the move rather than at the very start. You are very true. I like that idea. I will do that. uh, Yeah, but like usually I put them at the front. It's like because like my idea of how they use magic is how do I explain it? It's like I mean granted it sounds very stereotypical, but like well, or generic is the better word, or even cliche. But like how when you watch movies and everything like with magic related, usually like the caster have to like declare the name of the spell first before they could cast any spell. Well, so which is why even in my writing, all the spells, all the magic, the names comes first before the action even began. But um, yeah, I might have to change things up a little bit here. Uh, what are you so happy about? I asked. He immediately retracted the smile. Ah, do excuse me. It's been a while since the last time I used my favorite spell, so I got excited for a moment. His gaze had gone past me. Oh wait, I read this part already, it's fine. I followed his gaze and saw that the lower part of his body was clearly soaked with his blood. As for the werewolf, it was gone. There was only blood splattered everywhere within the crater Tensor had created. He casually mentioned I might have reduced 2 of his life points as well. Um, so, um, so for this statting in terms of life points, I mean, I do want to get close to the the concept of the card game, as much as possible. It is a fan fiction. So it's kind of like a weird setting here, but see if you understand and see if you like that. Huh? What? You better explain yourself, I shouted at him. I was not just shocked, but scared as well. Every life form, animal, planet has 5 links connecting their body and soul to the magical energy lingering in the surrounding environment. And just like how our physical bodies require nutrients to function, our souls, consciousness, so to say, require a connection to the outside world via the 5 links of magical energy to interact with the world. With each link severed, person will feel weaker, both physically and in terms of magical energy, and when all links were cut eventually, the person will lose all connections to the world, the soul burning the remaining limited magical energy it had, and when that also ran out, the person would disappear from the world. What we could commonly what we would commonly perceive as death. So kind of like okay, so Fenty in the comment says, only reason why I thought it was a bit weird as I can just imagine him charging his entire move up after shouting the move, and the werewolf just standing there waiting like a blank stare. Um, so it gave you that idea, huh? Yeah, I actually don't know how to feel about that because I want to be descriptive, like so most of the time what I do, as like I mean if it's not obvious enough already, I mean I hope it is, or else like I feel like I'll have a long way of writing. Um, but like I do add like quite some detailed descriptions, even if like the words I use are relatively simple. Like admittedly my vocabulary isn't the best. Like I always have to use like looking up synonyms, using thesaurus and everything like that. um but yeah, so like I tend to be really descriptive about some of the actions, but like when I do that, it feels like everything is dragged out. But the fact is that like that that or like the whole paragraph or like describing an action could have just happened in like a second. But yeah, but like I think also feel that a lot of times when I've been too descriptive, is just feels like the action has been really slow, but obviously that's not what I wanted to do. So but I don't know how else to change. I suppose like I can just like also maybe like shorten some of the descriptions, but like I feel that's a little bit boring if I do that. Like especially if like kind of missing some words, it feels like my readers would not. It feels like it would not be enough details for my readers to like envision what I've seen, if that makes sense. Um, But yeah, maybe there are other ways to do that. Like as you said, like putting like the name, putting like the magic, well, the battle cry as you call it, in the middle of the description might works better here actually. I'll see how that do. But yeah, so I've just read out like kind of good the concept of life points. In the card game, you have 5 lives and everything like that. And I try to input that concept into like the characters as well. Especially, when I was writing it and I think about like the background content and everything like that. Obviously we have like keywords which I interpreted as like special abilities in the story, and immortal is a thing. And like, I've been thinking like, well, so obviously as the name implied, immortal, it would mean like, some characters would be able to live forever. But I don't really like that concept, which is why I put like the life points and like 5 links to like the magical energy kind of thing, to kind of say that like yes, they can revive themselves as long as yeah. So like I was thinking like uh sorry, I got my thoughts cut. So I was thinking like they can revive themselves through immortal as long as like they have the 5 links still connecting to the world. And like this is like what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, I think the battle cry is insanely cool when reading. It emphasizes the moment. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on how you see it. Like when you're only reading it, it's actually fine. Like obviously, because when I was writing it, and then when I was reading it over, and it's like, yeah, this looks fine. But when I'm actually, but suppose like reading it out is another thing. It's just like it feels weird when you actually read the whole thing out. Yeah. Uh, we'll leave that for later. We'll have to get out here first. Tensor was about to put his hand over my face, but I rolled off from his arms, dropping myself onto the ground. I forced myself to get up as I faced him and asked, I'm not going anywhere unless you explain yourself. You are clearly too strong to just be Alice's personal guard. And what about my family? You said your mission is to save me, but what about the rest of my family? I put my hand on my chest. What happened to father and mother? Do you even know if they're still alive? Why did you not save them? I squeezed out the tears that had been stuck in my eyes. Tensor waited until I was done talking, and his only response was a sigh. I threw a meaningless punch at him, and he caught it without effort. His face remained expressionless, seemingly having already calmed down from the previous fight. He sighed again. I suppose there are too many things for you to handle right now. Once again, he pulled up his other hand against me. I tried to escape, but he was holding my fist so tightly I felt that my bones would fracture. Binding barrier. Vines grew out from his palm, enveloping me within a second. Before I could even react, a huge sense of fatigue fell onto me like a boulder, and I lost consciousness. Uh, so yeah, I don't know if you noticed already, but like some of the magic that Tensor has been using doesn't exist in Saga, and that's because I actually took the magic out from the Japanese game as well. And right here, like with Binding Barrier, basically the effect is exhausting a spirit. So like I kind of interpret the exhaustion effect as like putting the target to sleep. This is how what I think exhaust mean. Like they put them to sleep. Um, right. Let me drink some water. Strong light pierced through my eyelids, causing me to open my eyes. A huge chandelier was hanging over me. Accessories shaped like the four suits in playing cards were dangling at its bottom. However, the light was not on. Something else was making the room bright. I turned my hand to the right, and I had to hover my hand over my eyes, as the sun was clearly shining down upon me. Yeah, like literally exhausting them. Yeah. Yeah, like Vital Spirits itself kind of like stretches I think it stretches like some of the main game mechanics a bit too much. Like right now I'm literally still thinking how would I interpret like effects like maybe like crush. like muling the opposing deck. Like I cannot think of a way to like kind of input it into my story setting. I mean, granted, as I mentioned previously, there isn't really a green world and blue world yet in the story, so it's not something I have to worry about for now. But like yeah, I need to put some thoughts on that, and also like the differences between like what the word like red destruction, literally destroying a spirit, and purple destruction, which is removing cores. Like my interpretation is that red destruction is literally destroying the target's body physically, while purple destruction is more like removing their magical energy. This is what I going to do with my story. Like this is how I interpret red and purple magic. Don't ask me about BP minus in yellow. I can't think of anything about it yet, and I don't want to think about it. Hmm. I don't know. Hmm. Hmm. I can see the sun. So that means I look further to the right. There was a person sitting on a cushion stuffed sofa. She had long blonde hair, glowing under the sunlight, and she was wearing a black hairband with black spades with yellow crystal in the middle attached. The same one I saw on the tinsel. She was wearing a blue dress as well, with all four suits imprinted around the skirts, and also the same black spades hanging on her left waist. Alice? I muttered, still feeling dizzy from my blackout. Once she noticed my stare, she smiled and stood up. You're finally awake. She sat down by the bed, gently putting her hand on mine. How are you feeling? I turned away from her gaze. Perplexed, I suppose. I imagine so. I'm sorry that we only managed to get you out. I couldn't send too many people out, since we had to stay low. So I only sent out Amari, my most trusted follower. However, please be reassured that I've already ordered another batch of people to look for the rest of your family. I believe they haven't strayed too far from the mansion, so they should mostly be hiding in the forest surrounding the mansion. I hope that you understand we're also doing our best. I could feel the grip on my hand tighten. I wanted to understand, I honestly did. But there was also a part of me who did not want to accept the reality, the fact that the ambush actually happened. I closed my eyes, lying flat in the bed. I did not want to look at Alice at that moment. Maybe it was because I did not want to see her pitying stare. Or maybe because I did not want her to discover my disappointed thoughts. What should I even do now? I thought to myself. I think the spirits literally have calls on them on the card, so you could say that by removing the. Hmm. All right. I just mutter it. Dio has commented. I think the spirits literally have calls on them on the card art, so you could say that by removing, by removing the cause on the body, they get weakened and lose magical energy. Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, I can get by with that. Obviously that would means I might have to alter some settings in terms of like how I design my human characters, I guess. But it is something to think about. Hmm. I'm just thinking if I want to apply that to purple or like yellow magic effects. Cause cause I for yeah, cause like for yellow magic, in terms of BP minus, I thought about maybe like they kind of reduce the physical ability of the target. But then like when I think about it, like that feels more like a green thing, like exhausting them. It's also like literally just like reducing their physical ability as well. So it doesn't feel right to also apply to yellow. Uh, but you did make an interesting point, and yes, it's actually deliberate for Bandai to always like put a core on every spirit design. Um, obviously it doesn't really apply to Saga, because like they've used like arts from Senon's art, and like they got some kind of original ones as well. Like for example, we got Cat Eva here. Obviously you don't see any yellow gem on it, but I suppose you can arguably like its eyes are like the gem. Actually, it maybe is. Yeah. Okay, that's not a good answer. That's not a good example. um, but but yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we leave out the collaboration cost, but like there was one card I was thinking. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's not pure yellow. That's why. That's why. But like. Oh, I mean, this one also has a gem on its chest. So it has gem on her body. Okay, so I suppose they do still go by that concept in Saga. I actually didn't realize that. Uh, yeah, maybe you can think something about it then. But as I said, like some of them use like Xenon Sword art, so then like the same rule doesn't really apply. But I suppose I can try to like maybe say that like if I ever get to use a character like that, I could say that maybe it's on their blind spot or something like that. Like Axe Spice is from Xenon's art, so it doesn't goes with like having a gem on his body kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I will keep that in mind. Thank you for reminding me that. Mm. What shall I even do now? I thought to myself. I could feel Alice letting go of my hand, and the bed felt a bit lighter. It seemed like she was about to walk away, and so I blurted out, "Thank you." Her footsteps stopped. I didn't know why I said that, because I knew that I had to show my gratitude since she did save me, but I just felt that was not the right moment. However, I wanted her to stay in the room, so I said something to make her stop. The thought that I might be alone now abruptly flooded my mind, and the tears that I'd been holding back again also began gushing out. I sprang up from the bed, covering my face with both hands. Well, of course, the tears would not just stop that easily. Initially, I was able to hold my voice, but the more I cried, the more terrible thoughts emerged in my head, and eventually I was essentially scrolling. Alex came back to me, wrapping her arms around me as well as putting her head on mine. "Yeah, there, cry all you want. You must be scared." So, sorry, I muttered. "What are you talking about? There's nothing to apologize for," she whispered softly. Then a knock on the door interrupted my thoughts, followed by a familiar voice from outside. "Your Royal Highness, may I come in?" "Don't worry, that's Amari," Alice first said to me, then she raised her voice to the door. "Go ahead." Tensor walked in, wearing a blue skirt with a white cape on, along with trousers of a lighter shade of blue. A small pin of black space was hanging on his chest. Um, he smiled at me bitterly. Oh, sorry, I was meant to say wearing a blue shirt. I don't know why I said wear blue skirt. I was confused by myself as well. I was like, it's blue skirt? I'm sure I didn't write that here, but no, it was a blue shirt. Jesus Christ. He smiled at me bitterly. Looks like I came in at the wrong time. I quickly wiped away my tears from my sleeves. No, not at all. I looked down to my blanket. I'm able to face him properly. I did not want him to see my crying face, and also because I still felt intimidated by him. Even if Alice was reassuring me, Tensor's power was still unknown to me, and I would never know if Alice was fully aware of Tensor's abilities. "Sorry for putting you to sleep, but I had to do that. You were emotionally unstable at that moment, and we were still potentially being pursued. I hope you're not hurt anywhere," he said. No, I should be the one apologizing. Sorry for lashing out even though you saved me." And then there was a brief moment of silence. Tensor did not look like he wanted to talk, and I was already looking awkward as I was. I did not want to blurt out anything idiotic to worsen the situation. Finally, Alice stood up and clapped her hands. "Well, since we're all here, why don't we have lunch together?" She then peeked at me. I looked down and realized that I was wearing silk pajamas in lavender color. "I suppose asking you to get up and get dressed immediately after you wake up is too much." She looked to the other side of the bedroom, where a round table medium size was situated. "We can have our meal in this room. There are some things I have to discuss with you two in private anyway." Tensor bowed to us. If that's the case, allow me to bring our meals over. And then he walked out of the room. On the other hand, Alice patiently guided me to my seat. She held my hand, waiting for me to get onto my feet by myself. You don't have to do this, you're the princess here, I muttered. But more importantly, you're one of the very few friends I can truly trust. Status matters not in this room. It's been 3 years since we last met. We shall have a long chat. Alice sat me down and then she chose the seat on my right. I don't know, so Fendi said, I don't know if battle spirits have a power scaling system like mana, but maybe that's something you can think about, is not already a thing. It is actually a thing, but it's more like a hidden concept than something that I would want to pull it out in words, if that makes sense. It's like it's like things like I mean basically I want to interpret this in a different way. Obviously like the easiest way is just to say that, hey, this world has a power scale. This guy has over 9,000 power. Jeez, that's broken. And the other guy's like, 1 point of power. I I don't like that system. Like I've seen too much of that in what do you call it? Uh, isekai light novels. Like because a lot of like kind of like the Japanese light novels, they were very they don't want to think too much on like how to describe a person's ability being better than the other. And so like what they do is that they basically set the world into like a game system, and then so like you can clearly see the other person's power, by looking at the status. Oh my god, this guy has written 9,000 on his screen, and for me I'm only got like 3,000, something like that. And so like I don't like doing it that way. So like I think like when it comes to the point where I have to compare the power scaling between two characters, I would like to use other ways to express that. Like for example, maybe that guy is more muscular, or maybe it has a stronger magical aura. If you seen Freeran, it's something similar to that. You know, but like I do not like to directly input a power system and then say, this guy is clearly stronger than the other guy because here are some statistic numbers. I hate that. I hate that so much. Yeah. Um. So sorry for putting this out immediately, but I'd like to make a decision on it as soon as possible. She said. What is it? Would you consider living with me, at least for the time being? I remained silent. As you know already, my kingdom has a close relationship with your family, and subsequently most of the Shadow Tribe. Your father was the one who enabled trades between the Kingdom of Gods and the Phantasm Archkingdom. Knowing that the Shadow Tribe isn't treated well in the Archkingdom, your father also persuaded your people to work for us as foreign laborers if they so wish to. Then she took a deep breath and sighed. However, she continued, this wasn't the only help your father gave us. The truth is, Alex paused there. She was avoiding my stare. Then she sighed again, now looking at me with a straight face. He and some of his people were also spies working under us, helping us to keep an eye on the next actions of the Phantasm Archkingdom. So, this incident, I feel, I suddenly stood up and grabbed Alice by the collar. My eyes had to be looking hollow because her pupils did not know where to look. Her expression was stern, but it was obvious that she was struggling to connect with me. At this moment, a shadow appeared beside us on the floor, subsequently a hand being pushed onto my shoulder. Stop it. It was Tenso. I let go of Alice. She dropped back onto her chair, and I also dropped onto mine. I looked down to my feet, my hands supporting my forehead. I forced myself to take in deep breaths. As furious as I was, I knew I would not get anywhere by lashing out here. Her Royal Highness isn't at fault here. She was only positioned to gather information for the Kingdom of Cards. Ultimately, the deal was made between the king and the queen and the head of the Camelot household, your father, Tenso explained. Maybe something like cursed energy where the more abundance a person has of it, the faster they regenerate their energy? I don't know. I have ways. I have ways. Let's just say it that way. I have ways to do that. But like, I'm the kind who's like, you know, if if I don't have to explain, then I'm just not gonna think about it for now. I mean, obviously, obviously in my mind, I have like a kind of fake setting on like how, you know, what my characters do in terms of like powers and abilities. But like, I'm not gonna be like thinking uh, to the very details of like how like a certain system should work. It's not like all the time that you really need to be really precise with how everything's work. As long as you can give the feeling to the readers that this is about how this power, how this magic works in this world, then that's good enough. Like, unless I really have to explain it, I'm probably not gonna think too much about it. I don't know if this should be a good habit. Like I've seen videos before. Some people say that like you don't have to think too much on background setting, just start writing first. And then on the other hand, there were some people who prefer to think about everything, like about the background setting, and then you know, and then they start writing. But like I'm the former. I'm the former kind. Like I just start writing first. I'll think about it if I had to explain it. But right now, nah, I don't have to explain it. Hmm, sorry, I mumbled. Don't worry about it. I understand your frustration, and that's why I want to help you. Alice put her hand on my cheek and gently lift my head up. So friend, I want to help you to the best of my ability, and right now I believe the best way to keep you safe is to have you by my side. You can become another of my personal guards, along with Amari. I also do my best to find your family. The gaze of her blue eyes was solemn. Now that I realized there was not an ounce of pity from her. Rather, if anything, I believe she was filled with guilt. She knew what was happening behind the scenes all along, and she only had the chance to reveal it to me in the worst case scenario. My experiences of hanging out with her during our childhood were also telling me that I would be safe with her. My only response was a nod, but that was sufficient as an answer to Alice. She smiled and led my attention to the table. Since I had already placed down our meals, it was some sliced meat and chicken wings, with rice neatly fixed like a small hill on the plate. Almirag is a kind of rabbit local to the realm of Radiance. They're usually chubby, so their meat has a decent amount of fat, and their black wings are also a specialty, Alice explained. Noticing that I was noticing that I was spacing out, she also gave me a wink. But I thought the realm of Radiance is almost completely forbidden from consuming meat. Most of the time, a person is only allowed to eat meat due to medical reasons. Your father told me about that. I remember the first time I visited Alice's palace, following my father while he was traveling for work. The king of the Kingdom of Hearts, Alice's father so to say, invited us to dinner, and I naively asked why the table had no meat dishes at all. It was a valuable lesson as the king took his time to answer me. Alice's caring personality probably came from him as well. You're correct, as the meat we consume, which are the fable beasts, can potentially develop into intellect beings through mutations and experiences. In short, the race of fable beasts can be considered as an intelligent race. Therefore, some would argue that it's unethical to treat them as food sources. That's why the previous lord of the fable beasts made a pact with the rest of the realm of Radiance to prevent the mass murder of fable beasts, including those which haven't yet gained intellect. The only exception is when a species of animal is crucial to the health of a person or a race, and even then, the fable beasts have a careful procedure examining each of their own kind to choose the least intelligent ones and make sure, well, they pass away in the least unethical way. While Alice was educating me, she stabbed her fork into a piece of meat, and as she held it up, she gave me a bittersweet smile before eating it. On the other hand, Hansel already finished half his portion. His expression remained unchanged despite what Alice said. As he saw me staring at him, he asked, "What is it?" Uh, nothing. I quickly looked down to my plate. I raised my fork and pointed it at the meat, but eventually I decided to only scoop up a bit of rice and put it in my mouth. It was one of the rare moments where I felt that plain rice was so tasty. Alice put down her cutlery and wiped her mouth softly with a napkin. She cleared her throat and continued the conversation. However, 2 years ago, the previous lord stepped down from his position. A new one replaced his position. His name is Genbu, said to have lived 10 millennia. Of course, that's just an exaggeration, since our furthest record of world history goes back to only roughly two millennia ago. If I may be blunt, he's just a really old turtle. Either way, after Genbu stepped up, he changed the policies which the previous lord, Behemoth, had set up, opening up a section of the Land of Beasts to allow limited hunting from the other kingdoms in the Land of Radiance. What caused the change, I ask. Not all fable beasts are herbivorous, so even among themselves, predation happens often. Genbu believes that this is the law of nature, and if predation among fable beasts is allowed, then it should also be allowed for the other races. Plus, due to Behemoth's various regulations of preserving life, the Land of Beasts is actually starting to have a problem of overpopulation. I see. I'm gonna drink some water. So honestly, I don't know if this part of the setting is like important to the overall story, but like I just thought that like it would be very interesting to like include like kind of relationships with the fable beasts, because like obviously because like it did make me wonder when I was writing it so at the very beginning I was actually planning to have the whole saga world set as like a human only race, as in like the only intelligent species would be humans, but then like I just felt it would be very plain to do that. So I feel it would be much more fun if I put in like, other kinds of animals being able to, being civilized as well, in this case, fable beast. And so like my thoughts just like follow along, and I was thinking, so how do I incorporate, you know, the animals living with the humans when, humans need animals in their diet? And so this is what I came up. And frankly, I I feel quite proud that I followed this up. I quite like this setting myself actually. Yeah. I see. Hearing that Genbu was not forced by others to change the policies, I had a sigh of relief mentally. I still felt slightly guilty knowing about the regulations from the past, but Genbu was right. We still need meat as part of our diets, and I was glad that he was very understanding. It always surprised me how immediately I could change my mindset after listening to all that. At that moment, I could easily put the flesh of Al Mulag into my mouth, and the taste and textures truly shocked me. I had to be looking like an idiot as Alice chuckled for 1 second. Of course, Gambu didn't open up the hunting ground for nothing, but that's a topic for another day. Right now, Alice took another bite from her food, and after she swallowed it, her expression became more serious while her gaze averted to Tensor. Amalie, I have a new mission for you, Alice said. Tensor put down his cutlery. I'm listening, Your Royal Highness. You can drop the formality now. Since Rissa will be staying around as my personal guard, she'll be at the same position as yours, meaning both of you will be some of the closest people to me, besides my parents. You can be casual in front of her too. Alice winked at me. She did remind me about how I barely had been formal in front of her. We had known each other since we were 6 years old, and it had been 12 years already. But every time I visited her, mainly when I was accompanying my father for work, she never asked me to be formal with her. The only exception was when other people were in the room as well, such as when we had dinner in the big hall together. Alright, then, Princess Alice? Tensor hesitated. His gaze averted away. Honestly, that was quite cute of him. Geez, how many times have I told you can just call me Alice? She pouted. That was cute. I'm still not used to this, he murmured. Alice smirked. Anyway, the next mission will require you to travel to the Realm of Flame, and it's not a rescue mission. I received information from... She subtly took a glance at me. From the spies in the phantasmal Ash Kingdom. It seems that the Ash Kingdom is mobilizing their army at the border of the Realm of Flame. You don't mean... Tensor cut in. Yes, a war is coming, Alice confirmed with a heavy breath. Eh? I gasped. Tensor rubbed his forehead. Well, I've foreseen this, but when you actually say it out loud, it still sounds unbelievable. But Why so suddenly? I interrupted them. It's not like the Realm of Flame is disturbing the Arch Kingdom. The answer is simple. Read, Alex said. But to be fair, it's not as if the Realm of Flame is completely innocent either. Until around 70 years ago, the Realm of Flame, known as simply the Empire then, also attempted to oppress against all the other realms with the overwhelming raw power. The Realm of Radiance was fortunately enough to not be affected heavily due to its geographical position between the Realm of Gloom and the Realm of Frost. So the other two realms literally acted as Radiance's barrier against the kingdom. So obviously, if you don't know the map, hopefully that description was enough for you to picture like how the world map looks like. But like obviously, if you do play the game, you know where to look, and you look at here, you can see the red world is literally on top there, and the yellow world is like the furthest one away from them. And so like basically, I cut off So in my story, I cut off the blue world and the green world. So technically, the white world would also be just like a, just it's like directly opposite the red world, and so like it's easy for the red world to like kind of disturb them as well. And like that's my thought. So that's why like, the yellow world is like safe. It's the safest against the red world because the purple world and the white world has been a barrier for them. Uh, the Realm of Frost wasn't heavily affected either, as their military defense stood on par with the Empire's aggression. So the Empire practically gave up trying to pressure the Realm of Frost. The Realm of Gloom suffered the most, forced to sign treaties with the Empire to avoid conflicts. I was not aware of that, I murmured. There was a sense of guilt welling up inside me. Although I was born under the politician's family, I never focused on studying the politics and history of my country. I was most likely taught what Alice just mentioned, but I forgot about most of the details. The only effort I put in really was paying attention to the news, so that whenever my father asked my opinions on recent news, I could immediately muster up something. Either way, due to some internal changes, the Empire started up a civil war among themselves, and it's still ongoing right now, even dissolving the status of the Empire. So every policy and treaty related to the Empire expired, and the phantasmal Archkingdom is most likely taking this opportunity to subjugate the Realm of Flame. Amari, Alice redirected her tone to a personal god. Your next mission is to rescue innocent civilians from the Realm of Flame and relocate them in either the Realm of Frost or this kingdom. Of course, with the amount of people, I don't expect you to finish this task alone. I've already sent soldiers to set up rescue ships at the most southwestern coast of the Realm of Flame, near the Elden Dragon's Jaw. Your main job is to slow down the Archkingdom army that's approaching the center of the Realm of Flame. Suddenly she smirked, while hiding her identity. Upon hearing her words, Tensor's lips opened up as if he interpreted something else. He slightly lowered his head. Understood, Princess Alice. You are to set up tomorrow morning. Take a break for today. You can stay around if you want, but you don't have to act as my personal guard. Right now, Alice turned to me. We had to settle you down here. First of all, shall we put you in the same room with Amari? But my gaze averted to Tensor, who was also looking at me, expressionless. I could not tell whether he would be bothered about Alice's decision, but I thought that it would not be a good idea to intrude on his personal space. I think that it might be awkward for us to stay in the same room since we are of the opposite sex. Opposite sex? What are you talking about? Amari's a girl. Alice cut in. Eh? Eh? Dot dot dot. My eyes rapidly scanned over Tensor. No. Her face could definitely be described as handsome more than beautiful, and her body was surprisingly flat for a woman, especially considering that she was wearing a shirt with almost no crease at all. However, what got me to feel the most unusual was her voice for sure, which now that I knew that she was a girl, felt like she had been deliberately deepening her voice. Or maybe that was just my imagination. Alice burst out laughing, breaking the silence between the three of us. She was laughing so hard that she was literally bending her back and pressing against her stomach. In the meantime, Tensor crossed her arms and kept her eyes on the wall while remaining quiet. I decided that I should temporarily avoid the awkwardness by focusing on my food. Eventually, Alice quit the noise as she pained She panted heavily, wiping the tears off her eyes. Sorry, this isn't the first time Amari got mistaken as a boy. In fact, pretty much everyone who was introduced to her for the first time thought she was male. Honestly, at this point, it's just a running gag. I peeked at Tensor. Even though she remained expressionless and motionless, I could tell from her frown that she was certainly irritated. However, Alice was the princess after all. I assumed that was what she had to bear probably every day for the princess's entertainment. Sorry, I whispered while making a quick dip with my head. Don't worry about it. You weren't being intentional. Tensor replied as she stood up, taking now finished dishes off the table and stacked them onto the tray trolley beside. Then she exited the room, closing the trolley. Alice and I simply watched her disappear around the corner. Well then, now that you know she's a girl, what do you think? Alice winked at me with a smirk. That's, I frowned and tilted my head, wondering if I should tell her my actual reason. Eventually, I decided that I should probably be honest, considering that I would be staying around for a while. I actually think she's intimidating. She scares me, I muttered. Then I remembered Tensor mentioning how she reduced the light points of the anime while we were making our escape. I recited the incidents to Alice. I want to know her thoughts on it. So if she even knows spells like that, I'm amazed. That was Alice's response, and I almost had my jaw drop. So you always knew that she was this powerful? Would that not put yourself in a dangerous position? What if she decided to attack you one day? I frantically threw out questions at her, and I truly did not understand how she could be so casual about it. Magic has been around us for an extremely long time, but never had I heard of any spells that could directly reduce a person's life points. That would mean that the spells were truly lethal, and the fact would not be something that the world wanted to discover yet. Alex simply placed her palm on her lips as she chuckled lightly. You don't know how long it took me to persuade Amari to join me. That girl is simply uninterested in this world. Frankly, I was a bit surprised when you mentioned she smiled in the fight, but suppose she has been quite a battle maniac. She just doesn't want to admit it. I bet that she might be looking bored right now, but deep down she's excited about being sent off to different places for missions. Battle maniac? You're not convincing me here, Alice, I found. I suppose not. Though in the first place, it's hard for you to trust her no matter what I say, considering your first impression of her wasn't the best. Plus, it's true that she's very strong. I've even dared to say that she's the strongest person in this world. However, Alice took my hand. At the same time, the clouds in the sky had shifted away, allowing the sunlight to fully shine into the room. My heart skipped a beat when I looked at her. She was smiling. Her eyes were relaxed, but I could tell from her stare. It was the expression of a mother caring for her children. I believe Amari had also considered that, which is why she's always been alone. I've known her since high school, so it wasn't a very long time. But, I think if I should do a high school, secondary school, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but, secondary school should be better. So it wasn't a very long time, but from the short time we've been together, I've seen her actively avoiding people. She gently caressed the back of my hand. I first approached her with a genuine interest. We were both in the same class, and she was always the top student, while I was the second top. Like you, I also felt intimidated at first, but I told myself, if I get intimidated by my classmate, how am I a good princess? And so I asked her if she could revise with me. To my surprise, she accepted my request, and we soon became friends. It was a bit funny to see how easy it actually was to talk to her. She let out an easing sigh. That was pretty much it anyway. I won't force you if you still feel that. If you still, sorry. There we go. I won't force if you still feel uncomfortable. But I genuinely want you two to also become friends. And I thought that putting you two in the same room together might help with that. After all, Alice's gaze went past me. I turned my head to her direction. She was blankly staring at the quiet space in the room. It was a huge room without much furniture. There was the king-size bed that I just slept on, with a cabinet beside. Then there was a sofa on the right of the bed, where Alice sat when I became awake. Then on the right of the sofa was the balcony, where the breeze entered and the light shone in. On the far left of the bed, near the wall, were the chairs and a round table where we were sitting. Decoration in the room was lavish. The floor was made of white marble with golden stripes crossing each other to form a rhombus pattern, and the ceiling was white with golden lines shaping like tree branches. Overall, it was a simple room, maybe too simple for a room in the palace. While we were silent, it became apparent to me what Alice truly wanted for us. The bedroom with no movements reminded me of my own bedroom, how I would lose all motivation when I walk into it alone. When I realized that all my feelings were for myself only, my parents were by no means bad parents, but there always seemed like an invisible barrier that prevented us from understanding each other emotionally. I could not remember exactly when it began, but at one point it became a habit for me to write to Alice about my thoughts, and Alice would do the same. It is the same for Tencel, I thought. Maybe we were all the same, struggling to connect with others emotionally. At that moment, I felt guilty for actively trying to avoid Tencel. I still had my doubts, but it felt wrong to straight up ignore Alice's words, especially after she sincerely explained her circumstances with Tencel. This time I held Alice's hands. Honestly, I still have my doubts, but I am willing to trust in your goodwill. I looked into her eyes. I shall sleep with her. Eh? I looked for the voice that disrupted the two of us, and there was Tencel standing there, looking stunned. Meanwhile, Alice already could not control her laughter as she literally shook on my hands and started rolling on the floor, slapping her hands on the tiles while screaming breathlessly. Tencel shook her head slowly with a hand pressed against her forehead. Racing, milady. And I finally realized what I just said. And oh my god. Well, it took me almost 2 hours to read that. Jesus Christ. I need to read faster next time. Um but yeah, just like kind of how chapter 1 is. And then obviously I'm already writing chapter 2 actually. I'm like in the beginning of like no, actually I'm kind of halfway there. Yeah, I'm like halfway there. But like yeah, I'm gonna head to toilet first and then we will continue from there. Uh, uh, no, I accidentally clicked Pokemon TCG. No, I do not want to open that. No, no, close window. Thank you. Right. Okay, I'm back. Oh, hello team. Welcome. Hey yo, so kind of fanfic you're writing for Battle Spirit Saga. Uh, is that meant to be a question? Like, are you saying what kind of fanfic am I writing? Um, it's how do I explain it? So like instead of like being a card game, what I'm doing is like I'm basically rewriting the lore of Battle Spirit Saga with like a lot of changes in terms of like background settings as well. Um, so yeah, so basically the whole thing is that it's basically two characters trying to fight against the Void Lords. And obviously, I mean, I don't know you've been here for a while, but like, I suppose you only just joined. So yeah, so like, yeah, it's technically it's a spoiler, but like when I'm started the stream, I decided to like I'm not gonna hide any spoilers, like because that's not the point of this on my streams. It's about me trying to actually write it, to like become like at least like a half decent fan fiction. But yeah, so like the final goal is basically for my main characters to fight against the Four Lords. And so so kind of like that's what's going to happen. So basically, so for 115 minutes, which is a really long time, I didn't expect it that much. But like I was reading through chapter one, which I just finished writing to give everyone a bit of a context. Like you can also go back later to listen if you want to. I would also appreciate that. But like just to give a very brief, what's the word, synopsis. Um, we have a character called Lisa who just lost her parent, who has been living in the Phantasm Arch Kingdom, which is positioned in the Purple World. So the Phantasm Arch Kingdom is basically where the Nightling lives. Well, the Nightling rules actually. Uh, Thank you. Would like to see. Would actually be cool to see a battle against the Four Lords. Yes, yes, that's what I thought. That's what I thought as well. That's why I started writing it. But yeah, so yeah, chapter one is about like a girl named Rissa been living in the Arch Kingdom. I almost keep saying Phantasmal Paradise, but no, that's not the right thing. and then well, her father is a very political person, a politician. And then one day, well, their family got attacked by the government themselves. And then so she lost her parents for now. We actually don't know if the parents are still alive. And then she has been saved by a mysterious person who happens to be the personal god of Alice, as in Alice from the Yellow World. Rissa and Alice are actually childhood friends. And then yeah, we just kinda and then like chapter one just kinda ends with like what Rissa's gonna do now that she's lost her home. And then um allow me to repeat what I've said from the beginning. Sorry for those who has been staying around, which is like probably only like two other people, but nonetheless. um so like the point of this stream is basically for me to just keep writing because I realized that I've stopped writing and for a while due to like a lack of motivation, which always happens when you're trying to keep something in routine. And so basically it's the whole thing just like for me to try to write while I'm aware that someone is staring at me. And so like right now I'm actually writing at chapter 2. I'm not gonna go through what I've written already yet. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna try finish writing the chapters throughout my streams. I'm not gonna try to finish one chapter in one stream. That is not gonna be possible for me, at least. Especially now that we already spent 117 hours. I'm not gonna sit here any longer. I mean, I'm probably gonna sit here for at least another hour, but like, not gonna write through the night just to try to finish a chapter. It will be something that happens throughout many streams. But once I finish another chapter, then I'll spend my time trying to read it out, to you guys, to the audience again. You mentioned that this is not focused on the card battles. How would the battle, so to speak? It's just like a normal, kind of fantasy battle kind of thing, like I mean, like all those like I mean the closest ones I could relate is basically, like anime fights. You got Dragon Balls and anything like that. Kind of what happens there. It's just like basic, kind of fantasy story setting. If that makes sense. Like I'm not gonna apply like kind of like like oh my okay, so each character has their turn to do something. Like this is not what I wanted to work. Like this is exactly why I don't want to write a card battle, because like I don't know if you tried it before, and I don't know if you've seen anyone try it before. Writing a card battle on Word is almost impossible, and it's gonna be really, really, really boring. So I would not like to do that, and I do not advise you doing that. Um. So yeah, so like in terms of battle, it's just gonna be more figurative. It's not exactly. I'm not gonna exactly apply every rules of the card game to to my story. Um. So yeah. So yeah, it's just it's at the basis, it's basically I guess the way you can think of it, it's a normal fantasy story, but I'm using characters from Battlespace and Battlespace Saga as references. Yes, yes, something like that. Yeah, where they gather champions. Sorry, where they gather companions and have them battle in a war. Yes, something like that. Exactly, exactly. Thank you, thank you. It means I'm explaining my things well. Good. Um. So yeah, like obviously you can keep talking to me. That's the point of streaming. But I will also like try to start writing on my chapter 2 as well. So yeah, so I highlighted here. So right now in chapter 2, what I'm writing is basically because Risa has to settle down. So she and Alice's personal guard, which is called Amali Tensor. I didn't mention his name, well her name actually. Um, but like they're going out shopping so that like Risa can get her daily essentials to live with Alice. And then now they're in a bookstore and they trying to basically get like a quill and book for Risa. So like since a fantasy world, my kind of like the background settings a little bit weird in terms of realm radiance, which is like where the characters are right now. I'm imagining more of like how do you explain it? Like a Victorian setting. Like I imagine like the Kingdom of Cards is like a Victorian era England. And like so yeah, so like at that time, and I suppose they might have pens or pencils already. Well, not pens certainly, but like pencils, I think they have it already. I've I remember when I did do a bit of research. They were still I believe they were still using quill and ink at that time. Um, or at least the high class people do that, I believe. If not, I have to do more research. You can also correct me if you think I'm wrong. So right now they're trying to get some quill and books. That's the word. Yeah. So from this point on, I will probably be a bit more silent because like obviously it's very hard to keep talking and then keep writing as well. But if you see me writing, I mean, what I do is that I usually try to voice out my thoughts, and then you think like you can like add something to it, then go ahead and comment. Like that's kind of what I'm planning to do anyway. Alternatively, if you also like writing, you can also use my streams. It's just kind of more like a chill and chat thing. Like while I'm writing, you can also write something else together. That can also work. You can use my stream in any way you want. Um, so yeah, look to the direction of voices. Saw a woman sitting behind. She long pink hair tied her braid, resting on her right shoulder. Her eyes were blue with shades of yellow and purple reflecting under the dangling ceiling light. However, what was more noticeable was the fold of feathery wings behind her back. She was from the angel race, which were like, "Hey, Cyril, how's everything going?" Ah, Amali. No. Oh god, it still feels weird trying to type while being on stream. Like I knew this was going to get awkward, but like I'm gonna try to see if this work. Like honestly, like the thing is that I'm doing this because like originally what I thought was like a kind of a chill and chat session while I'm writing, but then like there were too many streams like that on YouTube, and like I feel like it's just like nothing that special. Especially when I'm writing a fanfic, I could imagine, that like viewers might want to know what I'm writing as well. So that's why I thinking that like I can stream myself writing instead, and you also know what I'm doing. That's my thought anyway, and I'm trying to do my best to be entertaining, but like it seems like I'm most likely would just go quiet from here on out. Uh, if you think it's boring and you want me to say something, add something, again, please comment. This is actually my first time streaming on my channel, so I am not too sure what else I can really do. I'm just really experimenting everything right now. Actually, that would be sick. And to be honest, I can also see Thunder Seedwell was part with MC Group, evolving depending on scenario. Like Seedwell goes into rage, he becomes Dark Thunder Seedwell. I have shortened the name to make space. Oh, thank you. uh, but it's fine. I can read your comments. It's good. Thanks, Tim. Um, Seedwell, huh? Well, I actually have someone else in mind. But like obviously, I suppose Seedworm is like an obvious candidate when it comes to like kind of the main character group. But like yeah, I'm a bit of a weird person. So what am I going to say? Yeah, so like I actually like to use kind of more unconventional characters as like in the spotlight, because like I feel that they haven't got much attention, and so like and I feel like it's exactly because they're simple that gives me a lot of space to kind of try to expand on their personality as well. So I can think about Seedworm, like, cause like I have other plans in mind. um so like your suggestion actually becomes helpful to me, because I was thinking what I could do next, and then I couldn't figure another character that I want to fit in, but like Seedworm might be a good idea. But like, so for example, I actually didn't mention it, but like Rissa is actually based on Camelot Knight. Yeah, so like I actually started off with a main character being Camelot Knight, and I just find this really cute. And so and so yeah, like especially it's exactly because she only has like technically like a curse effect. So I feel that like there'll be like a lot more space to try to expand on with her effect, and then well, her skills in the story. Well, Alice is Alice. Like I think that's obvious enough. Amali Tensor actually, I'm gonna keep it a secret for now. I'm gonna keep it a secret for now. But Amali does have a special skill, which would require her, which would require her to try to what's the word? Gather companions from all 6 attributes. When I mean attributes, I mean like the colors, red, purple, yellow, green, blue, white. Um. So yeah, so like well, I've said that Amali herself is a white user, and then Rissa, being based on Camelot Knight, is obviously a purple user. So there's still like characters from the 4 other colors that I have to fill in. Alice is technically yellow, but I'm thinking if I wanna add another yellow character in there instead, because like as my setting, like as my story goes on, I feel like Alice can't really travel far, being a princess who's like needs to take care of her own stuff in the kingdom of cards. So like I might add another yellow character in there, and I definitely need a red character. um I love Seedworm. It's just an example, or maybe as a guest cameo character. Would love to see what your MC's previous plays are. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, as a cameo would also work actually. Yeah, I actually thought about. I mean, obviously with like, actually I started this fanfiction when only Set 2 was out. Literally, like it was a long time ago. Like I started this thing, like you can see my title here, literally called Second Run. And that's because I actually been writing it in like another style. You can see like got like I also only got 2 chapters, but you can see like character files, overall plot, prologue 2.0, prologue to whatever it was, and I got a second run. So basically what happens is that I've been writing this for a year, around a year. I think I'm a bit shorter than that. And then like I just thought that doesn't sound right. So I just dropped the whole thing and like start again. And this is here where I am, just like trying to continue the new chapter 2, basically. But yes, back to the topic. I was going to say, I didn't know what was going to happen with the story of Set 3 and Set 4, obviously. But now that we know that sequel era is a thing in Set 4, at the very least, there's like a, there's an obvious excuse for me to include Silkworm in there. So like, I would definitely try to fit Silkworm in somewhere. But yeah, in terms of red characters, uh, again, I'm just gonna repeat. This stream is about expressing my thoughts, so I'm not gonna really care, if I'm gonna spoil you guys or spoil myself, because like obviously you cannot understand what I'm writing if I don't tell you what my direction is. But anyway, I was going to say, I was going to make the red character being. Let me try to find it. Him. I don't know why. I just thought it would be very interesting. No, so because like what's it? Because like I was also thinking about kind of like the weapons they had to use. Obviously you have Camelot Knight, which is actually using a lance, like a lance and a shield. And I was thinking, maybe like very what's the word? Energetic character. Throwing a hammer everywhere would be a very fun character to add in. And then I was trying to find a spirit with a very big hammer. And this is what I came up with. So we will see how this goes. And she's not. Well, yeah. Well, the red character isn't in the story yet. So like, there are still rooms to change, for sure. But like, that is my plan. That is my plan. Great to see you again. Have you finished from me already? See, actually, did I? Yeah. So, I haven't stated that Suriel is reading a book. So, put down the book, opened in her hands. Yeah, so in terms of my writing style, I'm also like more like kind of like a person using simple words. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe had Dreadnought shot to become the Dreadnought King as a final evolution or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. No. You actually have like a really similar concept to what I'm having. Like what was it? Yeah. So like when Sephiroth came out, I saw Rixer. And like like obviously like Camelot Knight has to go somewhere. Like all these characters have to go somewhere. And then like I was thinking, what if Camelot Knight eventually became Rissa? And that's why for my main character, her name is Rissa. That's actually the reason why. It's because eventually I'm gonna make her into Rissa. So yeah. Well, here's a big lore drop. Ooh, ooh. Oh god, you got spoiled already. Oh no. I'm like just gonna stop writing. Oh yeah, maybe you can do the same for the other characters as well. Yeah. Alright, let me drink some water. Because it's really hard to like just like continue talking for 2 hours straight. But like this is also something I need to practice because like I'm not someone who speaks a lot, and also like I'm very awkward when it comes to conversations. So I feel that if I stream a bit more, it also practice with my conversational abilities. Tensor. Uh, No. Oh, I barely started it. Actually. Yeah, so in chapter 2 is like I think I said that already. Like I'm literally starting to lose my mind. Well, I think I did mention. So like yeah, they're trying to get the daily stuff, and then they're trying to get a book and two from bookstore, and then yeah, like to be fair, I'm like thinking if I have to include this partlet because like, I could also skip it, but like, I think it would be pretty nice to like kind of just like add a few scenes just to show like how kind of the cities in the Kingdom of Cards function. So that which is why I'm kind of like just like adding a chapter of them just like buying random stuff because like I think it would be a nice chance to kind of show like how the world looks like, you know, and like and I think that's very important. Like I could always just jump straight to the plot point, which is like the easiest thing to do, but like at the same time I think it would be a good idea to just kind of like envisioned, like kind of write down the words, like kind of what I envisioned, like the Kingdom Hearts would look like. Uh, I barely started it actually. I'm here, been really busy. Royal Highness. It is something that always irked me. Like I understand, like I always want my character's tone to be really casual, and that means like they'll be speaking in like kind of like an informal language, I guess. And then like, I know that that's a normal thing, and like we're very freely allowed to break our languages, when we're writing, but like it always irks me when I'm like I stop writing, and then like the blue squeaky line just like comes up. It's like, oh, I really want to correct that. I really want to click this, but like no, I can't. I can't. That's not how the way the character speaks. Oh, hello, Vanilla. I wonder who you are. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna expose you on stream. I know who you are, but but yeah, if you're using a different account, I'm not gonna expose you. Don't worry. But like, yes. Good evening. Vanilla Tillich. Is that how I pronounce your name? Vanilla Tillich. I'm busy, Her Royal Highness. Oh yeah, you said like yeah, Vanilla. You said that like I know you also write quite a few things. Maybe you can take your chance to also write with us. Maybe I don't know. I'm just spouting nonsense. We started on actually. Her Royal Highness has been giving me some really difficult missions, so I could on my feet for long. To be honest, I kind of want to see a Bakugan. I'm just reading the comments. To be honest, I really kind of want to see a Bakugan kind of anime for BSS, like the key spirits trapped in cards, but are able to talk / telepathically speak. But the MCs are able to travel to the world spirits. I assume that's what you mean. Yeah. I actually never seen Bakugan. Like I kind of missed the era of Bakugan. I was a little bit too young for that. And then by the time like I was given the chance to watch the TV essentially, it was the age of Pokemon and Beyblade, and then eventually Battle Spirits. That's how I got into Battle Spirits because like it was very popular during our childhood. So yeah, I actually never got into Bakugan. So I actually never know what Bakugan is really about. Like, I know it's kind of like a card game, and then like obviously they have this really small spears that you can like throw out, and they kind of like expand and become dragons. Which actually, it's really cool. I admit that it's really cool. I like that. But yeah, I think I had like the red one once. I had it like for a while. I think my friend gave it to me or something. But then like I just kind of lost it. Sorry. In terms of characters trapping cards and able to talk as well, have you watched Wickrus actually? It's actually another card game, and it has English versions as well. So you want to get into it, it's something you can do. Yeah. So this is Wickrus. They actually just had like a new season. Well, 3 years ago actually. I am getting old. Yeah. I think Weakness is a very nice story. Kind of similar to like what you want from Bakugan as well. So I think it has a decent story, at least for like the first 2 seasons. So yeah, I think Weakness is a game and an anime you can try looking into. This is how you spell it: WIXOSS. I'll type it in chat as well, so you can just copy and paste. There we go. Yeah. But yeah, Woodcrest, I like it. I want to like I learned how to play the game as well actually, but like as I said, it does have an English version, but like it's not very popular in the West. Like it might be in the same level as Battlefield Saga, or actually even less than that. So yeah, I just never actually really tried to get into the game. Like I learned how to play. I've been using it on like I've been using like a simulator to like play for a few games, but then like it's just too much effort for me to try to keep up with like too many games. Now replaying Battlefield Saga. I played the Japanese version as well. These two are my main games. I also play Wise Swords, and then I also play Pokemon. So those are 4 games already. I cannot really put my attention to more games, at least like in a serious way. Recently I also trying to get into Grand Archive because my friend is doing that. So yeah, with Cross it's gonna be a while until like trying to get back into it, I guess. But I do like some of the characters in there. Especially like the blue hair girl. Like if you ever gonna watch it, you understand what I mean. But like yeah, there's a blue hair girl, and then like in the game, her mechanic is discarding the opposing hand. I love those kind of decks. I'm just like an evil guy. Yeah, no hand for you. I'm just gonna hit you for life. That kind of thing. I really hope to God that BSS will have a Gundam or Kamen Rider collab. I mostly want Kamen Rider because I love them so much. Well, talking about Kamen Rider, let me just go back to chapter 1 quickly. Sorry for the other things, but I actually added a little Easter egg in my fanfiction. Um, so the way it works is that actually I'm not gonna explain everything, but basically yes, I actually added like a little Kamen Rider scene in here. And let me try to find it. I can't remember where it is. I'm just gonna search. Crimson. There we go. Crimson Smash. He stretched out his right leg with red aura beginning to form around it, shaping like a cone, the tip pointing at the werewolf. In a blink, resuming close to the ground, the tip of the red aura piercing into the purple gem, glowing on the werewolf's chest, digging deeper and deeper while his leg continued applying pressure. As we landed onto the ground, the impact let out an explosive sound. Dirt and dust scattered all over us. I choked, almost struggling to breathe. Yeah. I thought it was funny, so I added that in. But the best part is that I actually never watched Kamen Riders. I just but like that exact scene, what happened was like basically like the character and his anime, jump up into the sky, and at that moment, I thought, you know what? This is a very good moment to add a Kamen Rider kick in there, and that's exactly what I did. Uh, yeah, and then I used Crimson Smash just because I thought that's like the most, in terms of imagery, that was like the most fitting scenery, for that particular scene. But actually, yeah, as I said, I never watched Kamen Rider. I tried watching them. Like I started like 5 episodes of Gaia, and then like what was it? I can't remember the names. Kamen Rider Drive. Also started like 5 episodes of it, and then also tried watching Geats as well. I could never continue them. I don't know why. Like it's just not my thing. Basically, like I don't hate them. I do find the designs really cool. Like in terms of designs, like I think 01 is one of my favorites. And then especially and then his cake was also so good as well. Like I really loved 01's belt. That's like sounds so wrong. Like I've said in my podcast, like that we come to an age where we're literally discussing about belts and voice actors of belts for whatever reason. But yeah, I really love Zero One's style. It's like cause like Kamen Rider was actually in a collaboration with a mobile game that was playing, and then Zero One was one of the main characters, and then so like when we play the game, we turn on the effect sounds and everything like that, and then like I literally just got spammed by the phrase, uh, what's the word? Rising impact. Like literally every time I play the game, it's like it just brainwashed me. And I really love like the look of Rising Impact. Like I think Zero Run designs is really nice. Imagine BS or the BSS official Kamen Rider similar to Decade or Gotcha, but use the cost from game's own armor. That would be pretty cool, actually. That would be pretty cool. I like that idea. Hey, maybe it's something that you can start writing. You know. But yeah, yeah, I do watch the movies for Kamen Rider Ichigo. Like literally the very first one. Because like that was what my dad was into. So I was just like watching it with my dad because family bonding moments. So like Kamen Rider Ichigo is basically the only series that like actually finished. At least for the movies. I didn't actually watch the TV series. Um, yeah, Kamen Rider Ichigo, Kamen Rider Zero One, two of my favorites. Two of my favorites. And then like I actually also listen to the songs. Like literally, I'm literally doing everything about Kamen Rider except for watching the whole series. Like literally, I listen to the songs. I really like their belt sounds, and then like I kind of know quite a bit about Kamen Riders because like if you haven't known already, I'm like the wiki admin for the Japanese battle scripts. So like, and then in Japanese we do have Kamen Rider collaboration. So like every time I update their pages, I was flooded with like information about the Kamen Riders, references, Easter eggs, everything like that. So like even though I'm not watching Kamen Riders, I just know a lot of stuff about them for whatever reason. um so yeah, like like if you ask me, oh yeah, who's like the arch nemesis of like what's the name, Kuga, then I will say yeah, it's that guy with a very weird name. I actually can't remember his name even though I remember him. um the short rise of Zero Run. Oh, nice. But yeah, I actually remember this guy. The Govazeba. He has some really weird names. Uh, but yeah, like if you ask me, you ask me, who's the opponents of like Kamen Rider Force, and I was like, oh, it's the Zodiac series. I also know them. No, it's not. I can't remember their names. But you get my point. You get my point. You get my point. You got the Dopants who are actually in the Kamen Rider W series. Yeah, I actually remember them. I actually remember them, and it's not something that should take up my brain space, but it does, and I kind of love and hate that. And yeah, like Zio. So for Zio, okay, I also love Zio design. Like I love the concept of time and space as well. I try and watch, like if there's one series I will get into, I will think that it's Zio. But like the fact is like unfortunately, Zio is like supposed to be like a 20-year anniversary series, right? So what was I going to say? My brain's already frozen. So like if I'm gonna watch it, I might still enjoy it, but at the same time there will be a lot of reference that I wouldn't understand. Because I haven't watched all the previous 19 Kamen Riders. So I wouldn't really like understand why this Kamen Rider was suddenly popped up, like why he's important in this particular spot. I gotta go, man. Take care and keep up the good work. Hope you get your story done. Thank you, team. See you later. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate that. Hope you come back next time. Right. You know what? I should just continue talking for the rest of the people who are listening to me. But yes, I was going to say like I would have watched Geo 2, like not Geo 2, sorry, Geo, uh, but yeah, I just think I would not understand most of the stuff in the series, so I just gave up. I do really like the song Overquarter. Like I actually listened to the song on TV, like when it was airing, and then like I was eating my lunch, and I was like, oh, I got bored. I need to watch something, and like Geo was on there, so like I watched like an episode of it, and then I just really loved the song, like to the point I actually downloaded the album. Um, so yeah, Kamen Riders, pretty cool stuff, pretty cool stuff. I appreciate that. Right, yes. Let me get back to my writing. I literally just stopped. Why did I do that? Right. Let's see. Right. Actually, I haven't mentioned this yet. So like my goal in every stream is that I can finish at least one page. That's my goal. Hopefully I can like only stay around for like at most 3 hours. But if it takes me longer than that, I would probably do that. So yeah. So like I'm like I only wrote like 2 paragraphs. So like let me try continue it. Let me try continuing it. As for long. Some really difficult missions stay on my feet for long. That's unfortunate. I do hope you would finish them soon. So we can discuss. You hope you finish them soon so we can discuss. Yeah, like I always forget about my grammar and anything like that. So like, I always have Google Drive to try to correct me. But I do hope you finish them so we can discuss it. So like right here, I'm just like trying to like I actually don't even know what I'm writing for. Ha ha! What a great start. You know what? I'm just gonna continue. um. Gaze. May I ask who is this? So who this is? No, who is this? Okay. Right. There are some settings that I forgot. Yeah, so this is what I do often as well. Like there are just some settings that I forgot, so I have to scroll back to look. So in this case, what I forgot was that like Risa is actually using an alias when she's traveling with Amari Tensor. So and I forgot her alias name, so I had to scroll back up to look at it. She's my colleague, starting from today. There are two settled in. Okay. Yeah, settled in. Actually, like, I have an interesting question. Do you guys hear me typing? Because if you like that, I can maybe try to change my mic settings to see if we can also include the typing noises. Good stuff. Oh, hi, Kevin. Nice to see you. Yeah. Oh, now I'm getting embarrassed. But yeah. So like, okay. I don't know if you're aware. I don't know if you were here in the beginning as well. So basically, what I'm doing is like I'm doing just like a writing streams like regularly, or starting from today, hopefully regularly. Because I need to continue my fanfiction. And then like the best way for me to do it is probably to just put me up in front of an audience to force myself to write something. Just to get me back into the habit, So that's what I'm doing. And then so like for the last 2 hours, I actually have been talking about my chapter one, and so like now I'm just like trying to write chapter two. Um, to get her settled in. So it's like uh, yeah, some cues available. Yeah. Mm. After. Excuse me, I can't hear typing. Okay, okay. Hmm. All this. Try changing setting. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, like yeah, the typing sound just like too small in the on this keyboard, which is obviously a very good design. You don't really want a noisy keyboard, so I'm not gonna complain. I guess just gonna be mostly a silent stream then. I mean, actually, I suppose if I remove my microphone, then you might hear my typing because so like right now I'm on my Windows laptop, but I also have a MacBook laptop, and whenever I'm on Discord, like chatting with my friends and everything like that, it's like type on my laptop. They would say that they would say that they could hear me typing and very loud as well. So I guess it's just like different settings. So like yeah, I guess I'm using a very quiet laptop now. Hmm. It's like bro, the now. Right, so right here, I would have to do some research. I think I did the research before, but like, uh, but yeah, I cannot remember some of the settings. So as I said, because like my Yellow World is actually based on kind of like the Victorian era kind of England. So like sometimes I would have to just like look up images, or sometimes like just like looking into some details um to see how like how some Victorian stuff would look like. I should probably download Google Chrome. I'm not really too used to Bing here. Um, keeps you talking. Yeah, I suppose so. But like now I had kind of had the problem that like since I keep talking, I can't read, right? I anticipated this problem, but now that I think about it, I don't really know if there's a way to solve it. Um, but yeah, I'm just like being really detailed on like kind of how like a character will move and everything like that. So like now that like the storekeeper saying that she's gonna get her the books and kills, I'm just like kind of wondering where she's gonna get them. She might be getting them from the shelf. She might be getting them from under the table. Stuff like that. It's just like really small details that like you probably even if I get them wrong, it doesn't really matter. But like I just like to be accurate. It's because it just kind of gets me to like learn something new. Like yeah, it just gets me to learn something new in terms of just like researching and everything like that. But yes, speaking burst once you finish up a session or portion, maybe yes, that might works. That might works. But for now, uh, let me see. Yeah, I suppose the Victorian bookstore doesn't look too different to like what we look today, right? Victorian bookshelves. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say she gets the stuff from under the cupboard. Then, um, she like these are a lot of things I'm really bothered. I can't remember if cupboard can be on the on the floor. Yes, it can be on the floor. Cause like I don't know why. For some reason, I'm always imagine that like the cupboards has to be attached to the ceiling. You know, like when you have to like stretch out your hands to reach out. You know, like in the kitchen or something like that. But I think that's called a cabinet, right? No, no. Cabinet is similar stuff. I am so confused with furniture all the time. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Okay, now I have another thing bothered. What do... Brand new. Yeah, carry on the floor. Yes, now I know. Now I know. I just can't never remember. You know, like all those words. You know, drawers, cabinet, cupboard. It's like they all feels the same to me. And yeah, but obviously, you know, like using one word wrong can be a different interpretation to the readers. So like I always want to be really accurate with these things. Right. How do people sell the kill? Because I actually never knew. Maybe I put it like that. Where to buy a kill? I mean, you can buy them online now, but I'm just thinking more of like, how do people like position their selling kills? You know, in the shop. You know, I think it might be just like yeah, I think what um oh, you know what? I am so I'm just like I'm just like shifting between tabs right now because like, you know, kind of like within me, it's just like it just feels like because I'm streaming, like my hands have to be doing something. Um, but yeah, I now that I think now that I wonder, how do people sell their kills? Do they just like because what I'm thinking is like how they put the kills in the bookstore. Like, do they just like stack the kills in like one cone, and then you know, like if you like the kill, you could just pick it up and say, I want one of these. You know, I feel like that would be the case. Like, you know, obviously at that time, I don't think plastic is a thing yet. So like, you know, it cannot be wrapped in plastic. I mean, even today, I mean, I don't think I was seeing anyone selling kills in plastic wraps. So yeah, I'm just gonna put in a bit of my imagination in there. That's what all writing is about, right? Um, uh, oh, what do I'm just call it container. No, not desk. Counter. That's the word. Huh. Beep, boop, boop, beep. Yeah. Oh my god, we have reached 6 viewers, but why does it have to time when I'm more quiet? But blah, blah, I'm just babbling nonsense. Blah 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 blah. Oh, there's someone. Right. Uh, oh, right. Cube plants. I actually never knew that. Uh, Wait, what? Are you trying to mess with me? I thought you meant something else, but well, apparently I was being a dumbass there. What is this? Uh, I actually don't know. I actually don't know how people sell their kills. You know what? I think what I should do is that I should walk into a bookstore one day and just to see what they do. I granted I don't think there are any traditional bookstores in my city, but I can try to find them. I can try to find them. No, but what is this? Q plant. I mean, it looks pretty nice. I like the color. Wallisia cyanea. Okay, okay. Okay. Well, there's one more plant to know. A Q plant. I just, uh, I just, I just don't know how to connect here. Yeah. Okay. Well, yes. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna focus. I'm gonna stay quiet. I'm gonna try to think how I can write next. Hmm. This. Sometimes I just don't know how to continue a scene. Well, it's more like I know how to continue it, but like it's just like boring to do it the way that I'm thinking. So like I have to think. Is there like any like more interesting way to do it? Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. I mean, I don't look. It's a guy trying to type on Google Drive. There's nothing interesting to look at. So I understand if you're just gonna put it in the background instead and like doing other stuff. Like I'm completely fine with that. Like I just like at the basis, I hope my stream, can be used as something just like, just like can people can like put in the background, like for something to listen to. Feels like someone is having a chat with them. At the basis, I think like I can try to do that. You know, I don't need everyone to be looking at me because like I understand it's not very fun to just stare at a Google Drive document. Hmm.
Hmm? Google Drive being weird. There you go. I I don't know why you want us to correct the grammar there. But yeah, sometimes Google Drive, sometimes these systems are just weird. Right, I need to toilet again, so I will be right back. I am back. Let's continue. Uh, Wait, where was I? Ah, there we go. So so yeah, I'm just trying to like kind of so like whenever I write a scene, like obviously one thing is kind of to enhance kind of background setting of like this world that I'm creating. But like also on the other hand, I kind of wanna try to relate each of the scene to like a problem occurring, which like obviously the characters kind of have to solve later on. So like right now I'm just trying to I kind of have a problem in mind that I want to add into this scene, but like that's kind of thinking like how I can link to that part. Yeah, don't mind me just looking up random stuff. Like I will explain it once I'm done, but yeah, you would see me just like looking at really random things, and then yeah, you would not know what I'm trying to do here.
So yeah, so that was why I was looking at the BSSDB because obviously this is like a fan fiction. So like a lot of the things that like like the characters, like kind of the animals that I want to talk about, like I want them to be as closely related to to some of the cards as possible. And I so like that's why like a lot of times when I'm trying to mention like an animal, like for in this case, Tensor is asking the the storekeeper, like what is the material of like the cover of the book is made of, always made is made out of poison lizard and native species of lizard originating in the Ren of Flame, just like even like in terms of like just kind of everyday life setting, I kind of trying to make them closely related to like the parts that we have. um so yeah, I do feel it's a little bit awkward, like I'm just like looking at something that's kind of like so like insignificant in terms of like the overall plot, but like that's something that I like to do. I know it can be pretty awkward to look at, but yeah. uh right, yeah, what's the word for another hunt down? Don't So I don't like to say the hunter's hunt because it feels like you're repeating words. So yeah, so this is like what I do, and then I think it's a lot of it's a thing which a lot of writers do as well, which is just like looking for synonym of words. Like, I don't know if you ever look at memes or anything like that, but yeah, like thesaurus is literally one of our best friends. Just like you just like don't want to keep repeating using the same words, and like it's kind of this is just kind of what you do. And then yeah, obviously like in the same process, uh, we're also like kind of learning different words. For example, I didn't know what the word hound mean actually. Yeah, I know it's a species of dog. Yeah, but like I didn't know that it's also a verb to means like to persecute or to pursue when relentlessly, relentlessly. So so yeah, so interesting word. That's something I learned. Uh, Probably can just go chase down here. I just don't really like to say like hunters hunt. I can say like hunters chase down some animals. I feel like that sounds better. You know. Uh, right. I know delicate is like can be a word to means like very what's the word like very expensive and rare foods, but I wonder if it can be used the same way for like just like objects actually. No, I don't think so. No, I was thinking about delicacy. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh god, and you got an English major sitting here. What am I doing? Um, yeah, it only refers to expensive food. I guess I can just use the word luxury. It's quite luxurious. Right, I'm like just a little bit more, and I will fulfill my today's quota. Maybe like another paragraph or two, and then I'll probably just end the stream there. Oh wow, it's been more than 3 hours already. Yeah, writing does take a really long time. But nonetheless, I suppose like there's just like a sense of joy, when you kind of put down your thoughts in words, and then like it becomes like easy for you to kind of share to your friends, and everyone else of like what you're thinking inside your head and anything like that. Because like I think like when I was small, I have a lot of thoughts, oh, I wonder if this story will work, I wonder if like that story, I experienced these things that I really wanna, kind of like describe them and everything like that. Um, so yeah, I guess you can. I mean, I guess it's the same for everyone else, for you, for me, for all the other viewers. Um, you just have a lot of imagination in your head, especially when you're bored and anything like that. So yeah, writing is pretty good. I also like the fact that like I mean again it's like human has been around for a very long time. So I'm not one bit surprised when like I'm thinking of very specific things and then like and then I realize there's actually a story out there that's like practically describes my imagination perfectly. I was like, wow. So I'm not the weird one, you know, or maybe like I'm not the only weird one here, you know. I love that like it happened like at least like 2 times already. Um, but yeah, when I say weird things, I mean like very weird things. Which I don't really want to talk about it on here. Let's keep let me just keep it like a secret, you know. Just like a writer does have their mind go wild with things. I mean, I admit a lot of the times like when I think of a brilliant idea is when I'm sitting in my toilet fighting for my life. Oh, oh, whoa, ooh, woo. I yeah, usually I don't just like, just like start writing on like from the middle of the paragraph. But in this case, because like after I wrote down to here, right down here, I realized that I missed out something. So like that's why, I kind of had to go back to the middle and like add back in there. Mm, mm. It always comes down to a situation like this. Like you just kind of know how you want to proceed, and like you like also like don't know kind of like how to write it out, and then just like yeah, just kind of pausing here. What do I do next? Kind of thing. And yeah, and then like when I'm writing like dialogues, like I also like have to always think like, does it help me progress the story or like progress. There we go. Progress the story, but like also like no, because like I just don't want to write down dialogues which feel meaningless. Like some of them can look meaningless, but like it actually helps to progress the story. But like some of them when you look at it, and then you will realize that like, oh, it's actually meaningless. And those are like some things I want to avoid. But like, sometimes it can't be helped, when you're just like writing, and then what was it? And then like you just like kind of like mindlessly type in things that you think like a character would react in this certain way, and then like, after you're done, you realize, this doesn't feel like the way to go, and then you just have to go for it again. Like, I mean, that's my situation right now. Like, you didn't see me type it out, but it's in my head, just like, this is what the character would say. No, actually, no, this is not gonna work. And then I just have to think, what should I do next here? Yeah, so like right here, like you can see that like kind of Amory and Suliel is just kind of chit chatting with each other, But then like I kind of wanna try to like bring in some information, or at least like some foreshadowing about what they will encounter next, because as mentioned in chapter 1, I mean, if you don't know, you can always like go back to the start of the stream, because like I actually did read out the whole chapter 1. But like to fill you in, like the two main characters, Amalie and well, just Amalie actually. Well, Amalie will be going to Realm of Flames to complete her mission. So just kind of want to do some foreshadowings to what she will see there, and things like that, and just kind of thinking like how I can connect kind of to that thought. And then like sometimes you think about like, okay, maybe the character can like say these stuff, but like it sounds like a logical way to respond when you think of like a dialogue. But then like you also have to consider like the kind of the character's personality, like what would she say in this situation, in comparison to like what would I say as like in this situation. And like that's something they have to put in consideration as well. And yeah, like even one dialogue is a lot of things to think about. It's hard. Hmm. Oh my god, I'm really stuck. Ah, the life of a writer, just getting stuck here and there. I mean, to be fair, it probably means like I haven't thought enough about like the background context, but like I don't know, like there are like definitely there are different ways to write. There are people who just like to plan everything ahead and then start writing, and then there are people who just like I'm just gonna start writing and I'm gonna change as I go along. And like I'm that kind of person, I just write. That's why I prefer to do more. Like I don't like to just think, plan. Because like at the end, they're all just theories, they're all just theories in your head. You can only know if it works when you write it out. And like kind of I just go by that ideology. So I just like, instead of just planning, I just start writing. And I mean, granted, like obviously need to have an overarching plot. Like where you're getting, you know your end direction. You kind of know that's okay. This is the next plot point, so I need to get there. That kind of thing. You still need plot points. It's not just aimlessly writing. And but like it's just like there's just like, a lot more spaces in between the plot points for me to kind of fill it in, and like it kind of gives me the space for the creativity. Um, but like obviously when I was well, not obviously. What am I saying? I just like keep using random words. But back when I was in high school, I actually started another fan fiction on like another Battle Spirit series. Oh, actually, yeah, and it was on Warpad as well. Like I think you can still find it actually. And let me see if I can log in here. I haven't logged in here, but so I'm just gonna search for it. Oops, you can see my email address. Oopsie, but that is completely fine. Uh, uh, where's the library? There we go. Nope, current reading. So like these are like yeah, these are just like my friends fanfiction. My friend's stories, yes, but still, yes. So I do have a Warpack account, a very long time ago, and then yeah. So this is the one that I first wrote. This is like my first fan fiction. A very good cover as well. It's just a bit of like a copy and paste from the photo. That's this looks so funny now that I look into it. But yeah, so like that was my first fan fiction, and then like I was like just like writing it. I basically wrote it without an ending, so like it became very messy because like when I was writing it, it's like became like kind of like a mess of like finishing one chapter by one chapter, but that's meaningless because like you know it's like I'm writing a chapter without a direction, so basically I'm just writing nonsense. And then it got to a point where it got to a point where like I was I just couldn't end the story because it was so messy. Like like a lot of times even for like bad stories, they still have like a setting, they have a setting that they follow with. And then they still have like a main storyline that they follow with. And even if it's bad, there is a backbone to the story they're writing. But in my case, I didn't even have that. And so like, I just added so many random stuff in there. Basically just a lot of fillers. Literally every chapter is basically like a filler. And then I thought that it's going somewhere. Well, it didn't. And so after like 20 something chapters or so, I realized I cannot continue that. And so I just stopped. I literally just stopped writing. I just gave it up. That's it. And then so yeah, but like if you're interested in reading this mess, here it is. Laugh with this all you want. Will be very cringy. I wrote this when I was like 14 or 15 years old, so there's that. And then this is my second fanfiction. This was also Battle Spirits, The Spirited Crane. I think this one I actually formatted it a little bit better, but like the problem with this one is that like I what was the word? I didn't think enough about the background setting, and so like that one also kind of led to me just like kind of struggling through a little bit because yeah, I didn't think hard enough, and then after writing like 3 chapters or so, actually how many chapters did I even write? I actually don't even know. 4 proper stories, 1 draft. Let me see. I actually can't even remember. Oh my god, I actually wrote a lot. I can't even remember. I wrote a lot on this one. Yeah, and then like I realized this isn't really going to work. So again, I just dropped that one. But that's kind of how we are. You know, we write things, we realize it's not working, and we drop it. I mean, granted, I do feel bad. Both of them I use like, each of them I use like 1 year or two to like write them anything. So like, if you ask me, did I waste my time? Yes and no. I mean, everyone had to start somewhere. So like, I started it really badly, and like, of course, that would have wasted my time. But like, also on the other hand, it also made me realize that like, I was still very bad in writing. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm very good at writing right now, but I would think I got better. Uh, at least something readable. So yeah. So like that was also some good time spent. It made me it gave me a first hand experience on like how writing feels like. Being a writer feels like. And then it makes me realize that I could get better. And then here I am on my third fan fiction. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that I can actually get this one through because I do have a very high hope on like this one that I'm writing. Um, like at the very least, I want to try to complete it. I want to see it into completion. Which is again why I'm making these streams, mainly to make myself right, because I'm being a really lazy ass. Hmm. What's it? Mm, ah, how do I continue this? Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Like maybe, yeah. just like maybe another paragraph, and then kind of complete today's quota. Hmm. There's another moment where I forget my own context. I can't remember what's the currency they're using in this world. Oh my god. Need to scroll back. I could look at it again. All right, I actually didn't mention it. You know what? I'm just gonna keep it fake then. I actually didn't give a currency to this world. As in like, as in like, I kept it in the way so that like I don't have to mention so like the amounts that they're using, and then like how they exactly call their money. Oh, this is another thing that I keep confusing. The rise and raise. What are the differences? I can never remember. Like English, it's just so difficult, man. And like I always doubt myself. Like I feel like I know that I'm using the right meaning, but I just need to double check. Raise must have an object, and it's a transitive verb. Raise, yeah. Rise does not take an object. I said it's a rise, rose, and risen. Okay, 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 okay. I see, I see. So it's about whether the object being physical or not. I think. No, why would the sun use rise then? I am so confused. It must have an object. Yes, is it? Yeah, the price. Can prices be called an object though? I don't know. I think race is the right word here anyway. Um. English, English. Why am I doing English? It's actually so funny. Like sometimes even teachers are really confused with like some of the grammars. Like I still remember when I was typing up stuff. And then like it's like if you I don't know if you have noticed, but when I'm using dialogue, I'm using kind of like what do you call it? Apostrophe instead of like kind of quotation mark. Like this one. This is the quotation mark. It has kind of like two dots, but I'm using the one dot. And if I remember correctly, you know, which I believe I'm right, that's what I've been writing all along. A single dot, the apostrophe, is used as dialogues in British English. American English is when they use like the double dots as like quotation marks. You know, um, yeah, I think that's how it works. And when I was in secondary school, I realized there's this difference, and so like I asked my English teacher, so like which format do we use over here? And then she actually couldn't answer me because she actually never thought about it herself. It was really funny. Right. Actually, yeah, I think I wrote a decent chunk, so I think I will end it here. Um, I will. I think the next time I'm free will be on Friday, so that will probably be my second stream. At the same time, at the same time as today, so 7 p.m. GMT. Um, so yeah, I am very glad that like today I have peaked at 6 viewers at the same time. And like checking OBS right now, it says that I have 50 views, which I think is actually decent enough for, you know, a, a channel the size of mine. So, and then obviously, a writing stream isn't like the most exciting things. So I am happy with 50 views. But either way, thank you guys for coming. Uh, if you like what I'm doing, if you like to just chill with me and everything like that, do remember to like and subscribe so that I know that you guys like it. And then like I will probably see you on Friday at the same time, 7 p.m. GMT, where I will continue from here with my chapter 2. Again, once I finish chapter 2, even if it's just a draft, I will just read the whole thing out once. I will also, yeah, I will also point it out, uh, like when did I read out the other chapters and anything like that, so that even if later on, even if you like skip a few streams and then you came back and realized I'm writing a different part, I will point it out where you can like see like the previous chapters, well, listen to the previous chapters that I've written already. But yeah, so like it will be a bit of a way before I can finish chapter 2, but like if we're going with this pace, hopefully that's a really big word, hopefully I could finish chapter 2 next week. But yeah, so again, yeah, thank you for coming, thank you for listening. If you want to look at chapter 1 again, just goes back to the start of this stream. I will see you this Friday, I guess. Bye bye. So, do I click end broadcast or do I click stop streaming? I actually don't know. Let's click end broadcast and see how it goes.